Principal Secretary, Tibet, Ms. Esther Tahara Muria, is also in our midst. Lady Justice Helen Omolo Omondi, who is also the President, International Association of Women Judges, in the House. Madam Dr. Bella Namango, Women in Technology, Innovation Africa, she's also in our midst. Helen Chepkwony, CEO of KDIC, she's also in our midst. Madam Winfrida Ngumi, Chairperson Kenha, she's also in the House. Dr. Saidim, Advisor Executive Officer to the President, also in the House. A very good guest and a friend, Margaret Leon, Ford Foundation, also in the House. Dr. Bosire Douglas, CEO, National Syndemic Diseases Control Council, is also in the House. Honorable Anne Shiku, Vice Chair IPOA, also in the House. Jebiti Lele, Commissioner, Nairobi River Commission, also in the House. And many other guests who are streaming in and be updating us, even as I receive the confirmed list of guests who are joining us. So straight, because time is not on our side, I wish to invite a presentation from our office. It's a short video, around 3-4 minutes, that will just be highlighting a few things about the office of the Women Rights Advisor in the Executive Office of the President.
At Women in Technology and Innovation Africa, we believe that technology and innovation are the keys to unlocking potential in every community. Our mission is to bridge the digital divide, one school, one child, one community at a time.
We must act swiftly and decisively to protect the lives and the dignity of every woman and girl in Kenya.
Kenyan women in particular must have their voices heard. They are the innovators, the farmers, the teachers, those who raise the next generation and who nurture our children.
The Office of the Women's Rights Advisor was put in place by Executive Order Number 1 of 2023, which created this office that has never been there before, showing the President's commitment on women's rights. We have 4 pillars that we've chosen to focus on. One of the pillars is women's leadership and democratic participation. The other pillar is legal and social justice. This one allows us to look at policies, see gaps, also allows us to infuse matters social protection, and that is where issues of GBV are concerned. As we know, the government is committed to ending gender-based violence by 2026, and therefore the pillar on legal and social justice is a strong one for us. Then the other pillar is women economic empowerment. This government came in on the premise of ensuring that the bottom of the pyramid are uplifted. And when you look at statistics, women make the highest proportion of those that are at the bottom of the pyramid.
Women need to be economically empowered, and we need to move the discussion from women economic empowerment to women economic empowerment and investment.
We have the final arm, which is data and research. Data is a very critical component in the work that we do in the Office of the Women's Rights Advisor.
A moment where we move beyond conversations to action, where evidence is transformed into policy, where data brings dignity, and where numbers tell the living stories of resilience, strength, and possibility for the women and girls of Africa.
In fact, our CS Honorable Harriet Chigai was nominated as a Gender Data Champion at Women Deliver 2023. This is because she has put her efforts to ensuring we find the women in the data. So Honorable Harriet has focused her mind to ensure that there is nothing we do without evidence. And where there is no evidence, we will ensure that either we talk to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics or look for support in terms of ensuring we do research to inform policy and research to inform budgetary allocations.
I think this topic is of age. It's a conversation that we all want to be part of. It's a conversation that is going to drive the engines of economic prosperity, not just in Kenya, but on the continent and on the world. And I want to be part of it.
I'd like to say that we need to also create more spaces where women can thrive and build capacity.
Thank you. In a very brief way, you are able to get a snippet of what the Office of the Women Rights Advisor is doing. And in that continuation, also to recognize presence of Kabale Tache, CEO, National Land Commission, is in our midst. Applause. Dr. Ngina, CEO NGEK, is also with us. Very, very powerful delegation in the House. Honorable Samson Some, Chair Tourism Fund, is also with us. So as we continue, we feel very, very privileged this morning that you're with us. Next, we have a very brief presentation also from Women in Technology Africa. Again, just to try and bring up what great women are doing around this country and in the continent of Africa.
At Women in Technology and Innovation Africa, we believe that technology and innovation are the keys to unlocking potential in every community. Our mission is to bridge the digital divide, one school, one child, one community at a time. Our Smart Libraries initiative is a bold step towards creating a safe, accessible, and innovative space where students can learn, explore, and grow. These libraries are more than just rooms filled with books and devices. They are centers of opportunity. From e-learning platforms to digital literacy programs, Smart Libraries empower students with the skills and tools they need to thrive in the world of technology and innovation. With every smart library we build, we see more than just technology taking root. We see curiosity, confidence, and the promise of brighter futures in every child we reach. And now, the vision is becoming a reality at Nkai Murunya Primary School. In partnership with the Rotary Club of Karen, construction of the new Smart Library is already underway. making the start of a powerful transformation for this community. This project is more than just bricks and mortar. It's the creation of a hub of innovation and opportunity where hundreds of children will discover, learn, and dream bigger dreams than ever before. As the foundation takes shape, so does the promise for a brighter, tech-driven future for every learner here in Kaimurunya. To bring this vision fully to life, here at Kaimurunya and in many more schools across the country, we are inviting you to join us at our upcoming charity dinner. Your support will help us complete the Smart Library at Kaimurunya and expand the initiative to other underserved communities. Together, we can create spaces where innovation thrives, where technology bridges gaps, and where every child is given the chance to dream, discover, and achieve. This is more than a fundraiser. It's a movement to build futures powered with knowledge and opportunity. The groundbreaking at Kaimurunya has begun, but this journey is just getting started. Be part of the transformation. Join us, support us, and together, let's continue to build smart libraries that light the path to a brighter tomorrow. For Kaimurunya and for every community ready to rise through technology and innovation.
Thank you. Wonderful work. Another round of applause. I also wish to recognize Professor Nura, Kenya School of Government Director General, is also in our midst. Madam Josephine Obonyo, Gender Affairs Secretary, is also in our midst. Madam Margaret Kibogi, Kenya Dairy Board, is also in our midst. Madam Maureen Mbithi, President, Project Managers Institute of Kenya, PMI, also in our midst. Madam Linda Rod, Executive Director, Oslo Center, is also in our midst. And many other guests who are still coming in this morning. So I wish to take this opportunity once more to just convey Madam Rachel Musyoki, we wish to recognize you, CEO, Women Enterprise Fund. Usijifiche, uko kona gani? Oh, excellent. You know, this is also a meeting of networking. If you see me insisting that perhaps you are also putting up your hand or I want you recognized, is for purposes of networking, because we want to leave this place a better community, better people, with a better agenda. So I take this opportunity to request our boss, my boss, Madam Harriet Chigai, to open for us the session of remarks. The Women Rights Advisor, as an office, you know, many a times people ask, what is the role and why are they there? I think today speaks for itself. Even not looking at many other forums and events that we put together. Basically, a platform for us to come together, to converse, to discuss, to advocate.
and thus to ensure that the women agenda, not only in this country, but in this continent, is at the table of decision making. And my boss is a very lively person, extremely lively. Even in office, she's very, very strict, but she allows us to be human, to laugh, even as we discuss issues that are very, very serious and critical. I think, I don't know who is interfering with our DJ. I would not want him to have friends at this time. Welcome my boss, Madam Harriet, with a good song. You have to continue clapping because I'll tell her not to come.
Jerusalem, ikayalami.
Let's continue. If you are not clapping, you will come to the dance and dance for 5 minutes.
Jerusalem, ikayalami.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. They forgot to tell you that you must stand up and dance. Who's a choreographer? We can't start this session in a boring way, isn't it? So I need a choreographer who can show us a move. You know, he who raises their hand first might just receive a check from KCB Bank. Come. As we are preparing that, I think the national anthem, I think that is the national prayer, so can we all be upstanding so that we can have the national anthem and the East Africa anthem?
Tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Don't sit. You know, the accolades were, I am lively. You know, those accolades, he didn't live by them, isn't it? So come, please play that song again. Anyone else who wants their famous time to be on stage, you're also welcome. Judge, you know, most of the time they make you sit. Yes, come on stage. Please come. For those who missed their gym session today morning, this is it.
Jerusalem, ikayalami. Ilondoloze.
You must dance because if you don't, I'm not starting the session. Where's our choreographer?
Jerusalem, ikayalami.
You follow what she's doing.
Ilondoloze. Uhambe nami. Zungangishilana. Dawo yami ayikolana. Buso wami awukolana. Ilondoloze. Zuhambe nami. dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze suhambe nami ilondoloze 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 sungangishilana ilondoloze 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 sungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze suhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze suhambe nami
You know, the reason as to why we force people to dance in our events is to bring the happy hormone called dopamine. And you must always have that happy hormone, because if you don't, your day doesn't look good, isn't it? How do you feel? Lighter. You feel lighter, isn't it? Now, that happiness you've demonstrated, you must wear it the whole of today, because you've started your morning well. So, good morning, everyone. Mine first is to truly thank all of you for showing up this morning. We don't take it for granted. You are all our chief guests. You are all our special guests. If we don't get to mention your name, just know you're engraved in our heart, because you're already here and you're seated here. I've seen Oslo Center well represented, and just like we said, this is a networking forum for us to get to know you, for you to get to know us. So please feel free to mingle, interact. For all of you who have been looking for Oslo, they are seated right there with the decision maker. Just stand. Stand so that they see you. So if you are not here today, then you didn't meet Oslo. Ford Foundation is right here. She's the one who will give you money if you want. Some is seated right there. The judge is here. NLC, Kabale, the ones who have been looking for you, they have now an opportunity to tag on you before you leave. And all the banks that are represented here. For those of you who've been looking for the First Lady, Mama Doing Good is here. The CEO of Mama Doing Good is here. Please stand. So stop looking for me now. Look for her. You have a direct plug, isn't it? And I think that is why we are here this morning. So mine is to truly, truly thank you all for finding this time. I don't take it for granted. And I also have my mentor here, Honorable Ojambo. This is a great lady, you know. When I got into office, she's one of the few who walked in and said, my daughter, I will walk with you. And guess what? She's also my client. I'm her lawyer. We also have Ambassador Josephine, who's just walked in. Can you see mother and daughter? We are all a reflection of our parents, isn't it? And by the way, Julio Jambo has very powerful kids. I wonder how your, your breakfast meeting or dinner meeting looks like by the time you're done, the conversations. Allow me also to recognize Margaret Kebogi, former CEO of Dairy Board, a biggest support of this office of ours. She's always given us milk for widows whenever we go out in the field. And your support, we can never take it for granted. Thank you very much, Margaret, and even for finding time to be here this morning. KCB Bank, well represented. Anastasia. You're representing Anastasia. I also have very big support. And you remember how many of you have seen the advert for KCB Bank? Who has seen that advert? So I'm not the only one who looks for a moment to dance, isn't it? A happy bank or a happy managers, happy clients, isn't it? That's it. So I really like that advert, by the way. So we need more. You need to pull out all the other pockets of managers and members. And maybe you should do one for your clients, your happiest clients. So those who are that was it's not the official speech. So don't record that. I'll tell you when you start recording. So mine is to truly welcome you, and feel free to ask questions. Feel free to interact. And maybe the staff from my office, you can just stand so that you can be seen. Anyone who wants questions, anyone who wants to reach out, they can quickly find you. So that if you have any questions, if you need contacts, if you need to interact with the office, please feel free to reach out to, there's Sylvia Mdasa here, Secretary Gender. We have Romana. Romana is the program director who deals with our programs on widows. We have Akoto, Dr. Akoto, who's joined the office to do administration. He's coming in as the pass in the office. We have Claire. Claire is the Director, Economic Empowerment and Investments. And she's also my police, literally. If she doesn't want me to be anywhere, she'll ensure I'm not there. And then we have Caroline. Caroline is my Director, Legal. So please feel free to reach out to them anytime. And I can never thank you enough, guys. I am as good as my team. There are many others who are not here. I think they're doing other things out there. So thank you very much. Please have a seat. Lady Justice Helen Amolo Omondi. Now this is the official speech. Lady Justice Helen Omondi, Judge of the Appeal, of the Court of Appeal and President International Association of Women Judges Kenya Chapter. Ambassador Monica Juma, the President Advisor on Security, who's on her way. Helen Chepkwony, CEO, Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporate, KDIC, and our partner for this breakfast. This breakfast wouldn't have happened without her. So she took all the bills for today. We can never thank you enough. The big Q today is, can we accelerate matters women, rights, and children's rights? That is the question I want us to ask ourselves today. We've seen we have chairs of different state corporations here, Some and team. We can never thank you enough for being here. We know you're very busy people, and I truly don't take this for granted. And when you invite me for anything, I will drop everything of mine and show up. Because the demonstration of the leadership that you guys are putting in place, we can never take it for granted. And I truly appreciate that. We also have Equity Bank CEO, well represented by Silpa. Karibuni sana. And just like I said, the big question today is, can we accelerate matters, women's rights and children's rights? That is the question that we want to ask ourselves today. And by the time we are done, the question I want to ask each one of us is, what is our role as private sector, as civil society, as government institutions in accelerating the gender or the women and children rights issues that affect us every day? So mine is to thank you for honoring this invitation and for bringing not only your authority and influence, but your commitment to action as well. His Excellency the President was clear when he established the Office of the Women Rights Advisor. The time for talk has now gone past us. We are 3 years in office. And the question then is, What is our task ahead? What have we achieved so far? Our task is to build systems that safeguard women's rights and deliver results on scale. Since 2022, we have moved from making promises to driving tangible impact through interventions across the country. We have touched widows, and the reason as to why we picked widows and orphans in our office as a CSR component, it's because no one was doing it. It was a neglected group amongst the vulnerable groups. And when you look at the society at large, if you leave one segment of the society out, there's nothing we are solving. It's a roller coaster, and we are going to demonstrate that. So through interventions across counties, we have touched widows and orphans, survivors of GBV, and communities. Our mission is larger than empower 5 million women socioeconomically, and that is our target. Rise women's representation in leadership by 40%, eliminate violence against women and children, and ensure gender data drives planning and budgeting at every level. And that is why you're here today. The government pronounces the policies, but we need actors, we need players up to the grassroots. The government alone cannot do this. We must collaborate. Our work is anchored on 4 pillars: economic empowerment, leadership and governance, in terms of even the advisories we give. And by the time we give any advisory, we plug in. I can assure you from this meeting today, there's an advisory that will come out of this meeting. So I want you to be part of that advisory. Our work, as I said, is anchored under 4 key pillars: economic empowerment, leadership and governance, legal and social justice, data research, and these pillars together form the foundation of an inclusive and prosperous Kenya. You've seen the president signed the Women Charter with the women of this country, and there were 48 promises that were given. Have we interacted with that document? Those 48 promises is what we've collapsed into those 4 key pillars. And we are saying, for us to accelerate women and children, we must plug into those 4 key pillars, change policy, and change the lives of Kenyans. Economic empowerment is not charity, it's part of strategy. MSMEs remain the backbone of our economy, and women own 34% of them. More than half of the Hustler Fund borrowers are women. And currently, I'm sure we are still at 47%. The numbers could have gone up. We have seen progress. The 2024 FinAccess survey revealed that gender gap in formal finance sector access has narrowed to about 1.6%. I was actually rounding off to 2%. Banks. Silpa here is still telling me that women are not bankable. The question is why? Yet barriers that we have still remain: limited collateral, unequal access to credit, and low participation in high-value supply chains. Through the Widows Empowerment Program, our office has gone beyond advocacy to deliver real, life-changing support. In counties such as Nyamira, Narok, and Kakamega, we have facilitated shift registration, provided legal aid, and strengthened financial literacy. These interventions are building dignity and independence in households led by women. To achieve scale, we need partnerships with financial institutions, private sector actors, and philanthropies to expand women's enterprises, finance innovation, and open markets. Economic transformation cannot happen without the women of this country, or the women at the center of it. If we talk about agriculture and the space that women play and the role that women play within agriculture, and not the government is putting in place the markets, we are told 65% of women are in the farms. 65% of women are actually in agriculture. But the question again is, why are women not bankable? The banks come in, financial institutions come in to train on financial literacy, how to do business, and how to invest. That is why banks, to me, are very, very important partners. Kenya's constitution guarantees equality, yet women still hold only 23.4% of National Assembly seats, far below the 2/3 threshold. Leadership representation is not only a constitutional imperative, it is an economic and moral necessity. The question then is, why are we still at 23.4%? Positions must be competitive, but the factors that deter women from even leadership position, even within boards, remain the same. Stereotyping, equality, economic shifts, economic empowerment. The reason as to why women are not in parliament is financing for them to go out and campaign. That is not to mean we want to erase our male counterparts. Our office has championed sports camps and community initiatives that build leadership, early embedding dignity, respect, and gender equality into the next generation. We are equipping women leaders across counties and building networks that ensure their voices are heard in decision making. This work cannot be done alone. We are partnering with all the state agencies, Ministry of Gender, Ministry of TVET, I saw the PS here. The Office of the First Lady, which is the key office in terms of economic empowerment, because that is the office that did table banking in this country. And to your shock, their table banking system is actually ranked highly internationally. It's a discussion that every other person wants to plug into it. But more is needed. Leadership and governance require deliberate investment, mentorship, political support, and resources to ensure women are not only present, but influence where national priorities are, and for them to participate in setting those priorities. Justice delayed is justice denied. 1 in 3 Kenyan women has faced physical violence. 1 in 10 has suffered sexual violence. Behind every statistic is a life, a family, and a community that is scarred. Our review of GBV in this country depicts a society that is completely torn. The question is, who are we going to bring on board to help us to bridge this gap and to ensure that GBV and femicide is a notion of the past? The economic cost in staggering is about 41 billion, drained annually through lost productivity, healthcare, and justice burdens. But violence is not only an economic issue, it is a human rights crisis that undermines our national destiny. In 2023, the country lost about 6.9 billion Kenya shillings to deliver babies to babies. The crisis on teenage pregnancies. These funds can be utilized well in any other area, including education. This is why initiatives like safe homes, safe spaces are vital. By training boda riders as champions of change, riders as community protectors, and gender equality champions, we are turning the male-dominated sector into allies of justice. Men must also participate. In our office, we ensure that we go where the problem is, because we are saying we must zero-rate GBV. We do not want to deal with survivors of GBV anymore, because we can actually stop the crisis. We have to stop it because it is us. It is in our households. We live with it every day. So the question is why? Why can't we have the champions of women and children everywhere we go? So Safe Home, Safe Spaces is our campaign tool, and we urge all of you to pick a button on the same and create safe homes and safe spaces within your workforces. It's within your space. You don't need to go far. Data is not just numbers, it's the power. Without data, women remain invisible in planning, and inequality persists. We have convened gender research summits and worked with the technical working group on GBV to highlight the true cost of violence. For the first time, the budget policy guideline for the national government for the financial year 2026-2027 requires all ministries and counties to integrate gender-responsive and child-sensitive measures in budget allocations. This is a big win for the women and children of this country. And we ask the private sector to also plug in and entrench gender-sensitive budgeting. You can clap for government. Yet, too few counties tag gender budgets or appoint gender data leads. We have enough data tools already which are in existence. One of them is the Standard Chart of Accounts. We have KNBS, which is the government framework. Also, NGEK has indicators in place. What is missing is leadership and political goodwill. We call on the Treasury, Parliament, and county governments to operationalize these tools, ring-fence funds for gender data, and ensure evidence drives both policy and resource allocation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, budgets are never neutral. They reflect our priorities as institutions. If they remain gender blind, inequality will deepen. If they are gender responsive and child sensitive, they will accelerate dignity, justice, and opportunities for all. Let us leave this breakfast not with applause, but with commitments. Let us reflect and call upon all stakeholders to join hands. Commitments to expand women's economic opportunities, to advance their leadership, to deliver justice for survivors, and to ensure that data drives every decision that we make. This is not only a call to government agencies, but also to all the private sector, to all institutions, to philanthropists, and invest in women fund innovations and open doors that are long closed for women. Financial institutions are key in financial literacy training and investment opportunities for women. We call upon all of us to accelerate, and as I said earlier, we are targeting 5 million. If all of us, if all the banks just take about 300,000 women to accelerate, this number can be reached within a very short time. If we align our resources, our leadership, and our influence, we will not only transform the lives of women and families, we will also reshape the destiny of our nation. Because when women and children are safe, empowered, and thriving, the country will prosper. When women take their rightful place in leadership and governance, our democracy deepens. When equity and equality are no longer aspirations, but realities, our society grows stronger, fairer, and more united. This is the Kenya we must build together, a nation where no voice is silenced, no dream is deferred, and no potential is wasted. If you don't like something, you must change it. If you can't change it, you must change your attitude. Thank you very much. We can clap again. I think mine was just to set the pace of the conversations today, and just like I said, there's no justice without the judiciary. There's no justice without the police. There's no justice without the office of the DPP's office. The wheel of justice is, it's a wheel. It goes round in cycles. And we need everybody. We need everybody on board so that we can safeguard the rights of women and children. So with that, allow me to bring on board the next speaker. I'm told they just want to clap for me. Where's Akoto? So thank you. Thank you very much. Feel free to ask questions. Get your questions answered before we leave here today. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chigai. As she came, you escort her until she takes her seat. Don't stop. You know, these are some of the rare opportunities where you can have a small moment to also order your boss maybe to have a seat. And also once in a while to look for a promotion. Yeah, so if I don't take good care of her, I might leave here jobless. And I'm sure we are all here to create opportunities for the young people. As you can see, I'm just 21 years old, a Gen Z. So thank you very much, Madam Chigai. And I'm grateful that more guests are still trickling in. I was just notified that the CEO, Kenyatta University Teaching and Research Hospital, Madam Gura, was in the house. If you are in, I was just told she walked in a while ago. Madam Chibich, Madam Josephine Obonyo, Gender Secretary, I'm also informed, is in the house. Dr. Silpa Owich, Youth and Women Director, Equity Bank. Elizabeth Koske, our neighbor, Mama Doing Good. Please stand, because as my boss indicated, we are neighbors, and many people, instead of going far, should be knowing where you are, where you sit, and I'm taking this opportunity to invite them in our office, Tourism Fund, second floor. She's in Wing B, we are in Wing A. Thank you, Madam. Pikoti Rono, Government and Public Sector Banking. I'm also told she's with us. Douglas Bosire, National Syndemic Disease Control Council CEO, is also with us. And many others who are still joining us. I take this opportunity to welcome you to another brief remarks from a few of our partners, friends, and colleagues. And I take this opportunity to welcome Madam Chepchumba Chepkwony, CEO KDIC. And as she walks on stage, our breakfast is courtesy of Madam Chepkwony. And Madam Chepkwony, don't stop clapping. She might refuse to pay the bills. Madam Chepkwony is a great friend of the initiatives and the programs we do, especially for the widows and orphans. And we've seen her passion in how she comes in to mobilize resources, not only from her institution, but from her friends. She will tell you, I'm not available, but I'm giving you a contact of so-and-so who might help you in this particular area. That 1 or 2 moments, we are extremely grateful because sometimes we do not find an opportunity to say thank you to such people and such support. Welcome for your remarks.
Thank you very much, Wana MC. Good morning, everyone. It is such a great pleasure to be amongst very distinguished ladies and leaders in government and in business. So I'm here just to tell you about my organization. Now that I was given a chance to talk, let me write on the protocols that have been established. Our chief guest and all the leaders in this meeting. It is my pleasure to join all of us in this breakfast. Good morning once again. So when leaders gather early in the morning, it is often to take stock of what truly matters. Today is no exception. We have come together to share responsibility, the responsibility to ensure that women stand as equal architects of Kenya's economic and social transformation. I commend the Office of the Women Rights Advisor under the Office of the President for convening us under such a powerful theme of championing women's empowerment, partnership for a bold and inclusive future. This is a call to action. The advancement of the women's agenda within the bottom-up economic transformation agenda is a priority for today. Ladies and gentlemen, when Mama Biashara puts her daily earnings into a microfinance account, she deserves peace of mind. When a boda operator saves diligently to pay school fees, that money must be safe. And when our MSMEs, many led by women, invest their hard-earned capital in the formal banking system, they should never fear losing it all. So that is why KDIC was established. KDIC was established to protect depositors. Whenever you place your money in the banks that you place and the microfinance institutions that are regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya, that money is protected by KDIC. So we were established to provide what we call early intervention, monitoring the risks and taking swift actions to protect depositors of those banks. Currently, we have 52 member institutions, commercial banks and microfinance institutions that are covered by KDIC. We also have 19 banks that have failed. I mean, over the period of time, we've had banks that failed as early as in the 80s, and the 90s when we had the financial crisis. So we have 19 banks that we are managing and trying as much as possible to recover money from the debtors of those banks and pay the depositors. So, so on the one side, we have 19 banks that failed, and we have 52 that are alive, and we are monitoring them. And so far, I cannot say we've been successful enough, but all of you know that we've not had a bank failure in the last 9 years, and we are touching wood that it doesn't happen again. So KDIC provides protection of up to 500,000 Kenya shillings of your deposits. So in the unlikely event of a bank failure, your savings up to 500,000 is paid by KDIC. Some of you might look at that amount as very low, but we cover up to 99.3% of all the accounts in the country. So we play as a safety net player, and to ensure that families, entrepreneurs, and businesses carry on even in the moments of financial disruption. Ladies and gentlemen, this room is full of leaders who have the authority to shape policy, the influence to shift narratives, and the resources to make change possible. Let us mentor the next generation of women leaders, knowing that when women rise, nations rise with them. I reaffirm our commitment to this cause. KDIC will continue to advance financial inclusion, safeguard the savings and investments that fuel women's ambition, and stand shoulder to shoulder with institutions that share this vision. In doing so, we strengthen the resilience of our nation as a whole. Colleagues, this breakfast is a launch pad. The bold and inclusive Kenya we all aspire, the bold and inclusive Kenya that we all aspire to is within reach if we choose to build it together. Thank you very much, and may we continue to rise together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And in that spirit, I will wish to welcome Madam Nancy Cheruiyot, CEO, Commodities Fund. Karibu.
Good morning. Yeah, the chief guest today and the advisor in the office of the president, the CEOs present, all the leaders, all protocols observed. Good morning once again. Yes, so this morning, I'm very, very happy to be part of the conversation, and where we are discussing how we can support women empowerment. I'm very glad I've been part of this journey. I've attended some of the lounges in various counties on the support of widows. So I work with Commodities Fund, and maybe briefly for those who do not know, we in Commodities Fund, we support the smallholder farmers. And when we talk of smallholder farmers, majority of the work done by the smallholder farmers is actually done by the women. Whether they are actually the spouses of the owners of those farms, or they are labor, they are employed. Most of them, 70%, are women. And the reason why it is important to support women is really without women. Can we imagine if there were no women in those farms? If there were no women in those farms. I give an example. I'm a coffee farmer. And all the other work I can give to men, but picking the coffee, the berries, oh my, you don't want to give to men. Not that we don't like the men. When it comes to picking the berries, the men, that's how they are created. They are always in a hurry. They want to crap everything and break the leaves and do that. But women, with their gentle hands, they are the ones that are usually preferred in picking the ripe berries in the coffee plantations. And I think this one resonates in every other work. Every other work, the gentle side of the women. And these are the people we want to support because either they are working in their farms, their family farms, without being paid, because I mean, ni kazi ya nyumbani, or they are being employed because they want to earn something for their own households. So today, I just want to speak about what we can do. I'm thinking aloud and I'm inviting all of us to look at what we can do to support now the very specific category, the widows. I know we have always talked about the women. There are so many programs. Maendeleo ya Wanawake, we have Women Enterprise Fund. Even within Commodities Fund, we are saying women, we only charge them 3%. We have really subsidized. But we have not really spoken to the widow. And for us to speak to the widow, we need to understand. So can you share my presentation? Okay. So let me check. I think something has an issue with my presentation, or if you allow me, I'll just share from here. Okay. Yeah, so as she connects, I want to believe everybody has supported a widow here, true or false. All of us, whether you know it or not, for especially those of us who are maybe you hold a government office, you arrive home in the village like this and tomorrow there are 5-3 widows. They want school fees, or somebody needs a support, the family has thrown them out because their husband died, or they are facing this challenge or another. So we are already doing it. But my challenge today is, how do we do it in a manner that it is structured? How do we track how many? Because sometimes you might be saying, oh, nobody is supporting widows. But when you count what she's supporting, then we realize we are actually supporting a lot of widows. And we could do more. So my challenge this morning is for us to think out of the box and come out with a structured way of supporting the widows. And when we are looking at the widows, we are not saying we are leaving the others. We are just narrowing down to the widows. And for us, we are very lucky that the office of Ms. Chigai has taken it upon itself to focus on the widows. So we want to know, where are the widows? And who are these widows? How do we know that? So that when I say in my village, I need to know that there are this number of widows in my village and the characteristics of these widows, because not all, they are not uniform. Some widows are better off. There are widows who are employed and they fare better off than the widows who were housewives before their spouses passed on. There are widows who they were okay because their spouses were supporting them, but now they need a little support to take up what the husband was doing. Suppose the husband was, let's say, he had a business, but now the husband is gone. How do we support that widow to continue? Then we have that category of widows who are completely destitute. Destitute, they were poor before the husband died. Now they are more than poor. And having talked about understanding who the widow is, we also want to know now, what are the kinds of support that we have? Me as Commodities Fund, representing Commodities Fund, with the mandate of Commodities Fund, what can that mandate do to the widows? And actually, this is a very right time to bring this on board, because when you look at where the world is going, even in reporting, we have what we call ESG reporting. It's now a requirement. Why don't we grab the social part? And I know a lot of my colleagues in corporations, like, we know what we can report in environmental. How many trees we have planted. Yes, we supported this forest. But when we come with social, sasa tutaandika nini? This is what you can do. This is where you can set aside some funds and say, us as this corporation, we are supporting widows group in Siaya County, for instance, where you have structured way of supporting them. The widows have come together. They are the widows who are better off, who can be the officials in that group, and we say, what can happen in Siaya? Allow me to use an example in my village in Londiani. We are actually we have what pyrethrum. And pyrethrum, even half an acre of pyrethrum can give you a lot of money every 2 weeks. I know because I know someone who has a quarter of an acre and he gets 18,000 every 2 weeks. Now, what can your organization do to a group of widows? Suppose you had a group of 20 widows in Londiani and you just help them. They have the land, they just don't have the capital or the know-how of what they can do. If you were to support them to establish those pyrethrum farms, you have sorted their problem for good. So there are a lot of things. We don't just have to do the handouts. As a corporation, you can report that under the S in the ESG and say our social is supporting a group of widows in this place. We have established for them the farms, they are earning income, they are putting their kids to school, and we actually track the impact. I'm sorry, I'm told my presentation has issues. They cannot be able to open, but I will just do it from here. Allow me to present it as it is from here. As I talk from it, so we have seen that widows and their dependents face a lot of challenges. That one I cannot educate you on that. We have legal-based challenges. Property rights, the widow, most of the time, they get thrown out of their farms, their homes, when the spouse dies. Or they are denied the factors of production. They are really there, but they can't be allowed to till that land. They cannot be allowed to use that plot, and so forth and so forth. And then we have the livelihood basic needs. Some widows actually lack the very basic needs, the shelter, the food, the clothing, healthcare, etc. We have some, most of the widows actually do not know even how to access the government support. They don't know how to access the affirmative action fund. They don't know how to access women fund. They don't know how to access commodities fund as a widow, because when you are a widow, you know, death is very sudden. You don't get prepared, you don't know, you are comfortable, your husband was taking care of everything, and all of a sudden you don't know which office to visit and all that. We also have widows who experience a lot of domestic violence from the relatives, because they want them out. They want them out of that land. We have also blatant theft of their resources, especially inheritance. They know probably if you are a widow and you gave birth to girls. You know, these are very true issues. We can pretend we don't know, but it's there. You give birth to girls. Even those who are married, there are still men who would say, you didn't give birth to children, as if the girls are goats or sheep. So you go. Imagine if you are a widow. Most of them are thrown out because somebody is saying only the boy child. Without realizing the Constitution now has also put the girl child. They say the boy child is the only one who can inherit. And since our brother died, you only have girls, you don't belong here. And then we have, of course, the backward cultural practices. Unfortunately, it's with us. women are being inherited once their spouses died. And people have actually criminalized the practice. In my culture, it was there, but it wasn't the inheritance in terms of you inherit as your wife in the literal means. It meant you inherit the responsibilities. If your brother died, left the children in school, a brother would take the responsibilities. But now that has been criminalized, and women are inherited whether they like or not, and they are mistreated, and their resources are taken away. So having understood that, what are these type of supports that when we sit here, you can go and explore as an organization or as an individual? We have legal matters, legal support. If you are a lawyer, you belong to the legal profession, and we are very lucky the AG is a lady. She is also a widow, so she will be very receptive in discussing how we can help the widows, because she is a widow herself. So what can you do as a person of legal profession? You can even provide free legal advice. You can be that person that in your village, even starting small, widows know that I need to go and see so and so to help me and to guide me. Can you even provide pro bono services if they are challenging, if the family is challenging the inheritance and all that? Then we have school fees for the kids. We thank God in Kenya now, I think primary school is free education, but they still need very small basic things. The uniforms, the shoes, you know, and the medical, even the medical services. Even paying that 300 for that widow, SHA, and for once, to be able to access medical. Then employment and economic activity. Who is this widow? How educated is this widow? And is there a place in your organization that you can employ? Because sometimes you find very young widows. They were not employed, and the husband has died. They are still in early 30s, and they actually have some certificate in computer, a diploma in something. What can your organization do? Because when you employ that widow, you are taking care of all the other issues. Or what business can this widow do? What economic activity can you support? Because we don't want to be people who give handouts continuous. We want to see long term. We come in, approach the situation, and see what we can do long term. If it is a coffee growing region and this lady has 1 acre idle, can you help that lady establish the coffee farm? Because once you do that, and I can tell you for sure, establishing a coffee farm, 1 acre is 100,000, not more. Because the seedling is 50 bob. Kuchimba shimo ni 30 bob, which she can do it, 30 to 50. And then you have 200 grams per hole of fertilizer. You only need about 700 holes in an acre. So with 100,000, suppose your community or your association or your company or your corporation can say, all the widows who have land, we shall assist them establish. As Commodities Fund, we can do that as well and say, since we are supporting the smallholder farmers, any widow who needs to establish, we will give them, a no interest loan until, with a long grace period. Come show us this is your land, we shall establish for you. When you start harvesting in 2 years, we start deducting the loan. So there are a lot of things you can do for widows as you look to that. The next slide, please. So now who are we, who are these people? Who am I talking to? I'm talking to corporate bodies, government organizations like ourselves, private companies, like the banks who are represented here, even schools. If a school would adopt 2 widows, we are not saying you adopt so many. Adopt according to your ability. Even the co-ops, the cooperative societies, the SACCOs, when you look at 350 government corporations, those are the ones I could count, around 350. If these 350 were each to support 10 widows for a start, that is 3,500 households. The multiplier effect, that is 3,500 households whose kids are going to school. These are 3,500 households whose economic activity has been supported. And you know, once you support them and they are able to cater for themselves, the next strategic period we do, or we can do the way we do in performance contracting. We say every year, the way we say every year we take 10 interns. Suppose every year we support 10. Every year we support 10 per corporation in government, for instance. Then in private sector, some are very big. Lucky enough, we have very big profitable organizations. Suppose they can take more. Even churches and other religious body. Suppose a certain mosque in Isili will say we are taking care of 20 widows. Another church is taking care of this number. Individuals as well. You as a person, I know you have been doing it, but now I want you to structure it and say, I actually have 5 widows. This is what I'm doing. Because we don't even count. This is the much I've put in. And looking at this, I can actually take 2 more. Even Parliament, through CDF, can they set aside a portion and say, in our CDF allocation in my constituency, this percentage is ring-fenced for the widows? Because that will force you to know who are the widows in my constituency. NGOs, anybody can do that. So having slide number 4, we have, I'm looking at proposed methodology. I think you can go back. I think you jumped number 4. Yeah, what is the proposed methodology? How do we support it? We want to support the widows and their households where they are. You know, we are very used to having orphans. We take the orphans, we take to our children's home, and then, but this one, we want those widows and orphans to remain where they are. We support them where they are. We also understand that different widows require different types of support. All adopters, I'm calling adopters, to identify the widows from the national database. So we have a database that then you can say the way we do in, for example, those who are in government, the Public Service Commission nowadays, we no longer just get interns. We write to Public Service Commission. We want 10 interns on these qualifications. And they are the one who get all the interns under one pool, and they send to organizations. If we had one place like that, and I think this is what Office of Ms. Chigai can do very well, where we can write as commodities fund and say, we want to adopt 5 widows as commodities fund who can grow coffee, who have land for coffee. Or we want to support widows who have land for this, and we work with that. And a school can write to you and say, we want to support children of widows, give them scholarships, 10 children. Why should we have one place? Because we want to track and we want to see the impact. And because some people get forgotten. There are some people who don't know to talk loudly for themselves. So we want every widow on board. We want government affirmative actions to prioritize widows. Sometimes we are very quiet when we say women. In fact, when you look at the procurement law now, we have women and people, women, youth, and people with disabilities. But widows are nowhere. Yet their needs are very, very key. We have a national secretariat, as I've said, maybe sitting at the office of Ms. Chigai, where they will keep the accurate data of the adoptees. I'm calling them adoptees, and timelines of their support. Why timelines? Because if I'm supporting you to establish a coffee farm, your coffee land, your coffee trees, I only need to support you for 3 years. Then your coffee starts producing and you are able to take care of yourself. Then you release me to support the next. Then we have, I've talked about a period set through which a widow can be adopted. Can we now go to number 6, slide number 6, please? A database. We can actually point out and say, Muheshimiwa so and so, this is your constituency. You had bursary this much, yet we have these orphaned children who did not get the bursaries when they actually need it. Access to factors of production. For those who don't have land, suppose we can work out a way and give them land, the government lands. We have so much government land lying somewhere. Suppose we can say we are giving these widows for 5 years to use this land to grow their food, or to grow something they can, use it to acquire their own land. Instead of that land lying idle and crabbers are crabbing from left and right. Legal support. We have to be intentional in supporting these widows in inheritance challenges when it comes to inheritance. Probably there should be a law that will really punish those who take land and property from widows. So we do this next slide. First, we have to know the widow. Who are these people and where are they? And by this, we have a database, a live database, accurate. Who are these? What are their names? What is their age? What dependents do they have? Are they going to school, those kids? Are they college ready, but they cannot access college? Are they employed? Are they in subsistence? Knowing everything about that, so that when a corporation is asking to adopt, the office can actually link them to the exact type of widows they would want to support. What is even the level of education of these widows? Because sometimes level of education is actually very important in understanding their rights, in accessing the services. And what is the type of shelter? Is it owned, where they are staying? Is it rented? Do they have additional property? Because if they own, then we have to make sure that the inheritance passes to them, to their names. If they were living there, for example, if it's an urban center and they had a house in the name of the husband, how do we assist them to make sure that deed transfers to that woman? And we have to be intentional. We don't wait until problems have come. And when we have such an office where the widows know that they can access, they will know that immediately they become a widow, this is where I need to go to access. Next slide, we're almost there. What are the policy development? Give us the next slide. Suppose we propose a government entities to assign a given percentage of their budget to the support of widows, orphans. Just like we do with persons with disabilities, now even in procurement and women. Suppose this is also tracked through performance contract, so that every year, as commodities fund, I negotiate and say, with my budget, I'm able to support 5 widows household to do this and this, and actually document, and then I'm measured on that. The National Secretariat proposed to assign widows to the adopters based on clear parameters, e.g., nature of need. I've talked about that. The Secretariat also now to have ability to raise funds from other bodies to support specific projects. For example, they can come up with something like Widows in Agriculture Initiative. Looking at the database, once they have the database, they can say this is the segment we can easily support the widows in this region. Or even when we have what we call the climate fund now, a lot of funds have been pledged there. Suppose you can support the widows to participate in environmental activities, which give them earnings while you are supporting the environment. Government-based lending entities like us, Commodities Fund, Women Fund, Youth Fund, to design facilities that widows can easily access, to be deliberate about it. For example, in Commodities Fund, we say we are women, widows, and we are very deliberate at 3%, when the others are 5 and 7%. Suppose this one also, we don't just put the rates there. We have to be deliberate in seeking out those widows and telling them, look, you can access our funding. And for widows, for instance, they might not have the capital. What are the security for that loan? What are the alternative ways we can help them access the loan without the security as a special body of widows? So this is what I was calling Adopt a Widow program. And it's a proposal, it's something, I'm throwing a spanner in works. Let's continue with this conversation. Let's adopt a widow, hata kama ni moja, as corporate and individually. Let's go beyond only supporting our relatives. Tafadhali, I know. It's very easy to support our relatives, isn't it? Because your mother will be telling you, look, your cousin is suffering. Your dad will tell you, look, my brother died and the kids can go to school. Can we go beyond that? Because some widows don't have tall relatives. Can we just look at them as widows that need support? And so the proposal, can we have the last diagram, please? The very last slide. Yes, I was looking at it and thinking, the National Secretariat, probably sitting at the office, national, where their work will be to have, to have widow database system where they have all the widows. They are the ones collecting data continuously in such a way that even data widows can self-register in the database. So if you become a widow, you can self-register, and then we can have validation later. We can have that office, National Secretariat, doing the resource mobilization, allocating these widows to adopters. And I've talked of adopters being you individually, corporate, and so forth. Doing the public sensitization on what this organization does. Work with other national bodies, e.g. Affirmative Action Fund, Ministry of Gender, Women Fund, etc. Lobby the government for more support, especially in policy direction. Influence Parliament to ensure CDF gives priority to widows and children of the widows in bursary distribution, and even in job allocation, employment. So what do adopters do? They ensure basic needs of adoptees are met, buy uniforms, for example, ensure periodic food stamps. I'm sorry, I think we don't have food stamps in Kenya. Maybe we need to come up with something like food vouchers and all that. Make returns to National Secretariat and maybe the government. So then we have the M&E and the local administration. We need to add some job to the chief. Let the chief be the one to report on the status of the widows in his location, status of the children going to school from the widows' households, and ensures widows are prioritized in bursary distribution. So if we can have everyone engaged and be part of that, and this is just the first draft, we can build it well, and we can make it something that everyone is proud to be. We can be able to say, everyone becomes proud. Even the new employees, when they get in, you tell them, as an organization, we are supporting the widows, but you can support a widow individually, just one or two, according to ability. We make it something that we are proud to do, to support. So ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts. These are things that have been running wild in my mind, and I welcome all of you to discuss and see how we can come to a conclusion on this. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Excellent. A round of applause to Madam CEO. A better applause. Those are extremely heavy thoughts. And as I was standing there, I just thought, could this give birth to a day where stakeholders can sit in a room morning to evening to just handle this one item, because I believe it's for the benefit of our society. I just wish to recognize presence of our guest speaker this day, Honorable Dr. Ambassador Monica Juma. She's in the house. A round of applause. A better applause. We celebrate you and we welcome you. Feel very warm in this conversation this morning. Just also to recognize our friends, major banks in the house. Stanbic Bank, represented by Madam Caroline. Applause to them. And as you listen to these conversations, what she is saying is that all of us need to be on board. Equity Bank, I'm aware you are in the house. Equity Bank, and I'm sure you are with a heavy team. I saw you with a heavy itinerary. Of course, I'd earlier recognized Kenya Commercial Bank with the team. NCBA, Madam Nelly, I know you are in the house. Earlier, I'd also recognized Cooperative Bank. I know you are here with us. Excellent. And Yehu Microfinance, I'm told you are also in the house. iVision Fund, from all the way from Zambia. iVision Fund, I'm also informed you have decided that you are not going to be let back. Very few minutes, Dr. Silpa, maybe just 2 minutes, on behalf of the partners and the banks, we welcome you to make a remark in 2 minutes. Don't stop. If you stop clapping, I tell her to stop walking.
Thank you. To the chief guest today, Honorable Ambassador, how do I call it? Our host today, Honorable Chigai, thanks very much for inviting us. All the guests present. I'm here on behalf of our chief, Dr. James Mwangi, and of course I'm presenting other financial institutions who are here. And I'm here to confirm that as financial institutions, I think you are rallying behind the women agenda. I don't think there's any bank that doesn't have a women and, a women division. Personally, I'm the director of women and youth banking at Equity Bank. At Equity Bank, I call it a women's bank. I was just sitting with the neighbor and saying it's a women's bank because 52% of our customers are actually women. The reason why we came up with the women and youth banking, where we support the women. Every month, I think we disburse more than 20 billion to the women. Currently, our women book is around 400 billion, and we will continue disbursing funds to the women. As I was seated there, and the support that we have been requested to do is on the widows, and that is something that we'll be looking at in terms of then now how to distinguish, as much as we're doing women banking, then how do we look at the widows as a section to support the widows. We've been asked, I remember the CEO of my good friend was speaking about how to support children, the orphans, how to take the children to school. I confirm that Equity Bank is a very good supporter of education. Currently, we have close to 61,000 students who have passed through the Wings to Fly in the country, some already out of the country. We support them up to, the Ivy League schools, just to make sure that they achieve their dreams. So we are well aligned to this dream.
and we look forward to partnering with the, with the Women's Rights Office, who have been our great support as well, to just make sure that we achieve the women's agenda in this country. And we are very grateful that it is being driven by none other than the President himself to make sure that we support that dream. By supporting women, we do not mean the men behind. We're just saying that we need to bridge that gap that we realized is having some issues that needs to be addressed. The reason why we are looking forward to be partnering with this great organization to make sure that we move forward and support the women. Thank you so much, and greetings from Equity Bank. Our group CEO could have been here today, but he has another meeting he had attended, but he sends his greetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Daktari. Thank you so much. I take this opportunity because of time to welcome Lady Justice Helen Omolo. She is the International Association of Women Judges President. A round of applause, people. You know, I want to request you, not warn you, that you may not have clapped for all others who are here, but she's the only one who can decide whether you are guilty or not guilty. So please be careful as you are giving your round of applause. A round of applause to Madam Lady Justice. Thank you. That is better and more encouraging. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to you all. He forgot to say that we can also decide that you go home. You don't always, or whether you are a debtor. I'm here on behalf of the Chief Justice, who sends her apologies that she's not able to join this meeting. I also recognize the fact that time is far gone. When I notice the MC moving towards the podium, I know it's a message telling the person on the stand to wind up. But let me say this is a really great honor to be in a congregation of such powerful and resourceful partners, very, very rich in ideas. Please allow me to read the remarks of the Chief Justice very quickly. I thank the Office of the President's Advisor on Women's Rights for bringing us together for this important national conversation at a time when Kenya is seeking to harness all its talents and resources for inclusive and sustainable development. It is important to underscore that women's empowerment is not a favor, as Harriet had said, or an act of charity. It is a constitutional imperative, a human rights obligation, and an economic necessity. When women thrive, society prospers. When they are excluded, the nation's potential is diminished. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda rightly recognizes this truth by placing women at the heart of our economic and social transformation. But vision alone is not enough. It requires deliberate, sustained, and coordinated action across all sectors. From my vantage point as Chief Justice, I see empowerment as a continuum, beginning with guaranteeing women's rights and freedoms, ensuring equal access to justice, and dismantling the systemic barriers that hinder their participation in leadership, entrepreneurship, and decision-making. 3 priorities are central to this work. First, embedding equality in the rule of law. The judiciary has developed a rich body of jurisprudence affirming women's rights, protecting against gender-based violence, and promoting gender parity in leadership. But legal guarantees must be matched by enforcement, cultural change, and grassroots empowerment. Second, making justice accessible and responsive. Women cannot fully participate in public life if their rights are routinely violated without remedy. through initiatives such as the Gender Justice Courts, which are special courts for sexual and gender-based violence cases, small claims courts, and digital justice platforms. We are removing physical, financial, and procedural barriers that keep women from seeking justice. Third, fostering partnerships. The empowerment of women is a shared responsibility. The judiciary cannot achieve it alone. We must build coalitions that leverage our collective influence to implement Women's Charter, advance gender-inclusive policies, and create safe spaces for women in politics, workplaces, and communities. Allow me to briefly share with you the judiciary's journey towards gender inclusion, which has been long and at times challenging. For many years, even our court infrastructure reflected historical exclusion. The first women judges had no ladies' washroom, and I can attest to that, in the court buildings, and they had to go to nearby hotels to access befitting facilities. Today, Kenya enjoys the rare distinction of having the Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, and Chief Registrar of the Judiciary all being women. And we regard this not as a personal triumph, but as a mandate to transform the institution and remove barriers to justice for all, especially the most vulnerable. Under our institution blueprint, social transformation through access to justice, we are prioritizing reforms that respond directly to the needs of vulnerable and marginalized groups. We are expanding the small claims courts to support women in business and establishing specialized gender justice courts to handle sexual and gender-based violence cases with trauma-informed approach. Women now comprise 42% of judges in the superior courts, 78% of registrars, and 58% of magistrates. Progress that reflects, and this is progress that reflects our commitment to building a justice system that mirrors the society it serves. Beyond representation, we have adopted policies on sexual harassment, affirmative action, and diversity and inclusion, and operationalized an employee protection unit to address sexual harassment complaints. These measures aim not only to comply with policy, but to shift institutional culture. However, women's empowerment must be whole of society as we work towards an inclusive future that help us recognize and realize the goals of Women's Charter. I see several strategies. One is the intergenerational dialogue to connect seasoned women leaders with emerging voices, bridging experience with innovation. Second, gender disaggregated data to inform policy, track progress, and dismantle systemic barriers with evidence-based interventions. Third is communicating success to inspire the next generation and challenge stereotypes about women's leadership. Continuous mentorship to provide real-time support and guidance for women navigating leadership spaces. And finally, addressing the resource gap through financial and capacity building for women. The Women's Charter and the bottom-up economic approach, gender priorities give us a strong framework, but sustained collaboration across government, business, civil society, and development partners will ensure these strategies yield tangible results. And to conclude, I urge us to be bold in ambition, inclusive in partnership, and unwavering in our commitment to building a just, prosperous, and resilient Kenya where gender equality is a lived reality. Thank you for your attention. Signed, Honorable Justice Martha Koome, Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you may allow me, because I heard if you have your 3 seconds of fame, you must make use of it. The International Association of Women Judges is an association that actually focuses on the issues of women and children. And I am so impressed by the passion with which the second last speaker made a very detailed plea. You can almost feel how she resonates with women, especially widows and the orphans. The association is in 5 regions. We work on the principle of inclusivity so that we take Harriet's approach, that we are actually working with border associations, matatu operators, and even beach management units where we have the beaches to get a totally transformed society. We do not want a lopsided society where the men are left behind, but we want an inclusive society. Thank you so much. God bless.
I warned you, please, until she sits, encourage her. So that before her eyes you may earn favor. Thank you, thank you. Very, very quickly, in office we believe women agenda is our agenda. And as men, I just want to take this opportunity to recognize, if you are a man, you are here and you are seated, please be up on your feet. Be up on your feet and feel proud about it. It is the role of the ladies to celebrate and applaud the gentlemen who are in the room. And on behalf of the gentlemen, Honorable Some, you will be coming here to just make a remark. He for she. Karibu. The chairperson, Tourism Fund, our landlord. Karibu Some.
The landlord had to be recognized. Obviously, otherwise the rent might hike from the beginning of the year, right? Madam Chief Guest, Ambassador, Dr. Monica Juma, it's a pleasure to have you here. Distinguished guest, good morning. They say it's only in Kenya where people really worry about whether it's afternoon or morning, Madam Chief Guest. But ours is very simple. We've walked the journey with the office of our advisor on matters women at the office of the president from day one. So I'm very proud. I think you should clap for Tourism Fund for that. We are not only the landlord, but we happen to be very natural partners from the day one when the office was actually put in place. And I must say, Madam Chigai and the team, you are doing a wonderful job. This is exactly the ground zero of your operation. When you call us here, what you're doing is sensitizing us to what exactly is the reality out there. We've had very beautiful numbers from the court data. 72% of registrars in Kenya are women. Clap for them at the court. Of course, the Equity Fund Foundation and what they are doing with a girl child. 61,000 people going through this, majority of them being women. I think this is a wonderful thing for Equity. Now, for us at the Tourism Fund, I think we've been told that when you get your 2 minutes of fame, you plug in and beat the drum for yourself. At the fund, we've got 2 main products that are actually touching on women directly. There is a revolving fund that we launched recently last year in October. The revolving fund, what we're doing is we're providing scholarships for people who actually are not qualified to get the HELB loan otherwise. But tourism product is a growing area, and we recognize that women are the main participants, and for that reason, we've got a second product that is actually directly to do with women. Now, capacity building is another product that we actually have at the fund. Now, for capacity building, you know that majority of the people who work in the sector, or you might be privy to this information, 85% of the people who work in the private sector, including here in Serena, are not necessarily tourism certified operators or tourism certified players. So what we've done is that we came up with what is called RPL, recognition of prior learning, in that category, to certify those who are already working in the industry but might not have the qualifications. Majority of them are women. You should clap for the fund for that. Now, we've taken through 4,000 people already since the inception of the program, and this is actually a critical part of our better plan participation at the fund. Obviously, I ignored and left out the rest of the funding areas that we do participate in: matters marketing, capacity building, standardization around the country, matters to do with product development, which are areas that are not necessarily to do with women. So I went straight and plugged in on matters women. Now, in finance, we recognize that women agenda is not necessarily a gender issue only. We recognize it as a resource issue. By resource, I mean, for those who know Economics 101, human resource is one of the 4 factors of production. But I didn't leave anybody behind. There are 4 factors of production. Human resource is one. So when you have women left behind, you are leaving out a resource. It's as simple as that. That's how to recognize this thing. And the moment we all recognize it as such, then it becomes very easy to bring women on board. Because in that way, we don't have to look at it as a gender issue only. We will be dealing with a resource, because a simple example, assuming we are 50-50, men and women in this country or anywhere in the world, if men own all the land, own all the rest of the factors of production, we're talking capital here, and entrepreneurship, that space, and you leave women behind, okay? I'm just giving an hypothetical example for an explanation here. What exactly you'll be doing is like having a V8 vehicle operating with 4 cylinders. There are 8 cylinders, 4 cylinders are working. You will never attain your maximum power or goal. So when you empower women or you engage in matters, women empowerment, what you're doing is you're making the vehicle fire with all the cylinders. In simple example, in a mechanical way, if you don't want to look at it from a financial angle. So once we bring ourselves to look at this whole issue of women as a resource, then it becomes very easy. In fact, the representative for the CEO Equity, Madam Zilpa here, Dr. Daktari, was telling me that some people have a problem during the chat, that some people have a problem when we say women empowerment. And they'll ask, obviously it's not the men sitting here, there are not many, but they are not part of that. They will ask, what about men's empowerment? Women's empowerment does not mean lack of men's empowerment. It means we are sorting out an issue that is at hand. Men's issues are not real issues right now. In fact, even Daktari was challenging me that at this rate at the judiciary, we might not have men's toilet in future. All right? All right? Because if women are actually 42% at the judiciary, and of course for registrar department, we're talking about 72%, then we can project that and say maybe in the next 20 years, we might have 100%. But that is not supposed to be a problem. What we are supposed to look at this thing, we are supposed to look at it in a macro way. We are supposed to look at it in a global picture. So every resource we mobilize here is actually a resource for the industry, is a resource for the country, and is a resource for our economy. And in that way, we'll be contributing for our gross domestic product. Thank you so much.
It's powerful to have he for she. Applause. You know, he's speaking on behalf of so many of us, and we are grateful, Some, for representing the gentlemen in the room. And not only in the room, but on that table, because when you sit there, we feel we are there. So thank you very much. So I take this opportunity due to public demand our friend, CEO, National Land Commission, Kabale Tache. Kabale, you need to leave your contact because I don't know what this issue is about our women and land. And it's like everybody, I want you to give me Kabale's number. Where is Kabale? Can Kabale share her contact? So Kabale, part of the duty that I'll be requesting you as you come on stage for a minute is you have to share your contact or how you can be accessed. Because I have over 10 requests, and that means there is something, right? Right? So, as I said, atakunyima shamba. So you refuse to clap, you refuse to applaud, and she may just decide that the title deed will not be in your name. Karibu Kabale.
Why are you inciting participants? At the chief guest, Dr. Monica Juma, our host, Harriet Chigai, our friend, she's friend of Marsabit County. I can see our women rep and deputy majority whip, Honorable Naomi Wako, my sister, my neighbor from home, chairman, I can see Chairman Some there, friend of also Marsabit County, is really helping women on the ground. Changumi, I am my biggest client because I keep a compensation fund in NLC account. I know my chairman, the chairman of NACADA, who is also my referent in AIC Milimani, was here. Vice Chair Ipoa. Fellow CEOs in the house, I can see Rachel there. Participant this morning, good morning. I know land matter is, it's very, justice, sorry, representing the Chief Justice, yeah? I think we had breakfast together, so I'm assuming we've already spoken. Land matter is, it's, I don't know, they say emotive. It's maybe more than emotive, yeah? We say women don't own land much, but I'm sure all of us here, we have attachment to a piece of land, whether we've inherited from our parents, whether we bought with our own money, or whether we are intending to buy. Even the Gen Zs in this house, I'm sure you want to own a piece of land. So therefore, it's a great pleasure for me to stand here this morning as we reflect on the matters that define our collective future, the empowerment of women through bold partnership. This is inclusive of advocacy and transformative action, particularly within the land sector. I just want to narrow myself down to land sector because that's where I work as a CEO, National Land Commission. And this will focus on critical intersections of land and women. Under the Constitution of Kenya 2010, land is classified as private, public, and community. Land is more than just a physical asset. It is a source of identity, security, status, livelihood, and dignity. I'm sure when you buy that first piece of land, you feel like, now I have a piece of land. So it's status. Yet, persistent inequalities remains. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics 2022 Demographic and Health Survey, women own less than 2% of registered land in Kenya, despite contributing up to 80% of food production in rural areas. You've just heard from the CEO Commodities Fund that herself as a CEO of Commodities Fund, when she goes to the village, she wants to pick the coffee berries herself. She doesn't want to delegate. That's how we contribute to the food production as women. This disparity not only violates human rights, but also constrains economic growth and national development. Therefore, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 provides a strong framework for addressing inequalities. And Article 27 guarantees equal enjoyment of all rights and freedom. I'm happy the Court of Appeal judge is here, and I'm happy that the focus the judiciary has actually in in elevating women in the position of registrars. While Article 60 of calls for elimination of gender discriminations in laws, customs, and practices related to land and property. Furthermore, Article 68 directs Parliament to enact laws that ensure the recognitions and protection of matrimonial properties, particularly the matrimonial home, during and end of termination of marriage. These constitutional provisions are designed to guide legislative policy frameworks towards achieving gender equity in land governance. Despite these progressive constitutional provisions, a significant gap persists in translating them into practice. Weak enforcement mechanism, inadequate gender-responsive legislations, limited public awareness, and entrenched customary practices continue to hinder women's access, ownership, and control over land. This gap between constitutional ideals and ground-level realities undermines the goal of achieving land governance, equitable land governance in Kenya. So what are the key strategies for change? One, we are advocating for gender-responsive land policies, and we must ensure that our laws, policies, and institutional frameworks uphold equality and remove barriers that deny women their rightful access to ownership of and use of control of land. We must lead from the front, championing gender-sensitive reforms and allocating adequate resources for their effective implementations. Advocacy must also be strengthened at the community level, challenging cultural norms and practices that perpetuate exclusions and inequalities, and fostering women meaningful involvement in land governance. As the community land registration is done, the Commission ensures that the 30% representation of women is achieved. Equally, when we do allocations of land, we also focus on this. Secondly, let's focus on promoting experience sharing and knowledge exchange. Across counties and regions, success stories abound. Women's group claiming land rights, inclusive land boards transforming decision-making, and innovative inheritance program ensuring equity. Legislators must create platform to share lessons, replicate what works, and scale impactful initiative. By learning from one another, we accelerate progress and avoid repeating past mistakes. The third strategy, let us enhance networking among legislators. And I'm happy that the majority whip is here with us. Collaboration is our greatest asset. Networking platforms will allow legislators to connect policy interventions, harmonize frameworks, and build a national agenda for gender equality in land governance. Together, we can move beyond isolated initiatives to a cohesive, result-oriented approach that secures land rights for women as a foundation for social and economic empowerment. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let us be bold. Let us forge partnership across Parliament, ministries, civil society, and development partners that prioritize women empowerment in land matters. I know we are collaborating with judiciary in AJS, Alternative Justice System, mainly which is advantageous to women because most of them may not even have money to go to court, and it's really working. That model is really working. An inclusive future demands courage to reform laws, amplify voices, and dismantle barriers. This year, June, National Land Commission partnered with IGAD to hold regional women parliamentarians dialogue on land, gender, and climate resilience, which took place in Machakos. And actually from the response there, the report that we've done, it's going to inform policy directions. We also did the effect of land fragmentations and how land is being divided into small portions. Some of them, those decisions are of course made without the consultation of women, which affect now family at the level of women and the children. So by strengthening advocacy, promoting experience sharing, and enhancing networking, will not only empower women, but also unlock Kenya's full potential for sustainable development and prosperity. Therefore, together, let us champion a bold, inclusive future where women stand as equal custodians of the land that sustain us all. Thank you and God bless you. I know those who need my number, they will get my number. You are welcome to National Land Commission. So we practice open ones. Of course, a public office where we serve everyone. And at the commission, actually, we are trying to eradicate the barriers, especially whenever it comes to land matters. And I'm glad that we have several development partners who have come on board to partner. Gender advisor to the president will be able to benefit from this. So we have promised our partnership on this, and we'll be working with you. Thank you very much.
Excellent, and thank you very much. Please encourage her, even as she takes her seat. Thank you, and I see we are moving on swiftly. Just to recognize Madam just to take 1 minute to request Madam Josephine Obonyo on behalf of State Department for Gender. Obonyo, I was told she's in the room. Okay. So, I think straight, I wish to request my boss, Honorable Harriet Chigai. I don't think I am fit to welcome the next guest who is to come on stage, and that is the speaker for the day to deliver the keynote address. So,
Papa Asante, weli weni Mungu. Kemi anade. Papa Asante, weli weni Mungu. Kama una hasule lazima utulie, ujivunie.
You guys must be happy. Where's my cardiographer?
Baada ya kazi lazima utakite.
Where's my cardiographer?
Uburudike, jiachilie.
Your moment of fame.
Papa Asante, weli weni Mungu. Kemi anade.
Naomi join us.
Papa Asante, weli weni Mungu. Kama una hasule lazima utulie, ujivunie, ubangaize.
So may your responsibilities to bring our chief guest when that time comes.
Ila usisahau, kwa nguvu zako, sema asante, weli weni Mungu. Tena si ya hatia, spend your money, sema asante, weli weni Mungu. Hata ukikosa, sema asante, weli weni Mungu. Na ukipata, sema asante, weli weni Mungu. That's where drive is supposed to park. You're not supposed to laugh. You're supposed to park. Imana oye na mambo supposed to hammer. He's supposed to hammer. Oh, he's supposed to make a move. Ila usisahau, si kwa nguvu zako, sema asante, weli weni Mungu. Tena si ya hatia,
Ambassador Monica Juma, we truly celebrate you. Some, this is your time to go and bring her. We must celebrate women. Ambassador Monica Juma's name precedes herself.
Anywhere in Africa, make you the pop anything. Cause I'm not popping guy. Driving Ferrari, cruising Bugatti, you rocking Versace,
you guys are not that.
Never,
I want to see happiness. I've also seen Benta, the CEO of Association of Thank you. Do you want to see her dance some more? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ladies, we say we must celebrate women. We must, because I can assure you, all leaders need a hand to hold. Ambassador Monica Juma's name precedes herself. When I was appointed, I was like, wow, finally I get to see her. I get to sit close to her. Because she's a woman I admired for a long time, but you couldn't barely reach her. The young women in this room, do you want to shake Ambassador Monica Juma's hand? And today you ensure you get enough photos before she leaves. Ambassador Monica Juma, as you can see her, she's the most brilliant woman I have ever met. She's true to herself. She doesn't mince her words. She says it as it is, because at the end of the day, it's the truth. She's bold. She's a mentor. She has never tired. In fact, the first mentorship I got when I stepped into Boardroom 6, you don't know about it, was from her. She doesn't know, but her words on my first day in office still rings a bell to date, and it's a guiding principle in my day-to-day work. We'll have coffee and I'll remind you, because I'm sure you can't remember. Ambassador Monica is the Kenya's first national security advisor. She has served as a cabinet secretary in 5 key ministries, including defense, foreign affairs, energy, and as principal secretary in defense, interior, and foreign affairs. Wow. I am not even 0.5% of Ambassador Monica Juma. She was formerly Kenya's ambassador to Ethiopia and Djibouti, and permanent representative to the African Union, IGAD, and UNECA. With extensive experience in security, peace, and governance, she has consulted for the UN and AU, led peacekeeping missions, and serves as patron of the Athena Mentorship Program. Let us celebrate Ambassador Monica Juma. And as I said, leaders also need to be mentored, someone to hold their hand, and someone to push them forward. Ambassador has done that. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Harriet, but as you can hear, she was setting me up, you know. She was setting me up. My colleague and the advisor on women's rights for the president, distinguished leaders, CEOs, Your Lordship, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great pleasure to have this opportunity to join you this morning at this high-level leaders meeting, convened under a theme that speaks to the hearts of our national development agenda: championing women's empowerment, partnerships for a bold and inclusive future. To my mind, this meeting and convening could not come at a better time, just after the historic Katiba Day last week. That was a reflecting point on the essence of our Constitution, on the essence of our aspiration as a nation, looking at how far we have come in 15 years, but even more importantly, where we aspire to go and how we must organize to get there. Amongst the most vexing promises of our Constitution as we sat reflecting on Katiba Day is the supposedly elusive 2/3 gender rule, isn't it? And this is a big promise, and I think it is a really good starting point about where we should be going. I therefore want to commend my colleague, the President's Advisor on Women, and the Office of Harriet for convening us, and more importantly, for anchoring this important national conversation. And I really hope there would be a way in which to make this a signature, national annual meeting. And maybe it should come just before the Katiba discussion or just immediately after the Katiba discussion so that we can focus using the lens of the Katiba on how far we have come. The President's decision to establish this office in 2022 was not symbolic. It was a strategic decision. It reaffirmed women's rights and empowerment, not as a peripheral issue, but a central pillar to our nation's socio-economic transformation. And I'm delighted that I had a chance to sit through the discussions and the presentations that came before. We had, and I think, the presentations around vulnerability. And I think it is important to remember that the President came to power on the promise of lifting the most vulnerable people. Yeah? This bottom-up agenda is about equity. It's about resilience. It's about bringing us, leaving no one behind. And so the earlier speakers spoke to the enablers for doing this. They spoke to the assets and how women must participate as owners and users of those assets. They spoke to the value of partnerships being bold and intentional. They spoke to the access to justice as a way of protecting and preventing gains. So the value of this gathering cannot be gainsaid. In fact, from an administration's point of view, it comes at a midpoint of this fifth administration, when President Ruto's administration is accelerating the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which rightly puts women and youth at the core of our growth trajectory. The truth is simple but powerful. No country can prosper sustainably when it excludes more than a half of its population. I am not a very good fan of football. I actually don't know how the rules, so I was very excited up to last week. But I recall once when President Obama was speaking in Kasarani, and he said, if you're a good coach, you field a full, good team, isn't it? If you do not expect to win, and I know our boys did a very good job of playing one man down twice, but they had to play harder, isn't it? They had to be more determined, in order to cover for an extra person. A good coach fields their best team, their full team. So it is inconceivable that a society could progress with a half of its team down. And that is why the matter of women participation full, meaningful participation is a matter of development. It's a matter of where society ought to be. In fact, we are told, and if you look at the indices of the best performing, best developed societies, you look at 2 critical indicators, maybe 3. 1, the status of women. 2, the status of children. 3, the status of the vulnerable, differently enabled members of that society. So this is an indicator of where we are as a society. In doing this, I think it is important that we always remember where we have come from. And that is why it was so good to see Honorable Julia Odhiambo here. It is very important that every day we honor the women that came before us, because we take so much for granted today. We take so much for granted. They held the light that has navigated the way for us. And on behalf of all the Golden Girls, I want to express my gratitude for giving us shoulders to climb on. But that also provides for us a standard that those who have the responsibility today have a duty, nay, an obligation to give your hand to the next woman. We have an obligation. And I often say, each person sitting in this room is holding a light that is being used to navigate. Please do not dim the light. Do not dim the light. Hold the light high. And I often say, sometimes you don't know whose path you are lighting. Many times we do not know. Because we speak in that school, you don't know the girls that are watching you. You speak in that rally, you don't know who is watching you and getting inspired. So please keep your light high. They are navigating lights for very many young people, young and old, male and female. Today, we celebrate women in every sphere. We are just being told the statistics in our court system. We celebrate, in fact, I remember a lot of mumbling with men saying, you know, that violates the third gender rule. You know, and I recall it was quite serious. Our Lordship would tell you here, we had lawyers actually preparing to approach court, you know, to say you cannot let one arm of government, a very important arm of government, be female dominated, you know. At least we passed through that, but it is important to celebrate this, and it is important to think intentionally about how to continue growing the quality and professional content of that justice, because it has to be just in being felt, not just in being dispensed. We celebrate our women in parliament. We celebrate our women in the boardrooms and in the grassroots. Beyond, because we know beyond the trailblazers are millions of women in homes, in farms, in the informal sectors that are quietly holding the fabric of our nation together. And I want us to reflect a little bit during COVID. Yeah? During COVID, when women had to now multiply even more. You know, I have this picture of the Women's Day of a woman with 10 hands. I don't know that you have seen it. And it says, God knew he would not be everywhere. I would say she would not be everywhere. And so she created a woman, you know. So I think it is very, very important to celebrate all these women that are holding the fabric of this nation and of society globally together. In spite of this progress, we know that there are still some significant changes, even as we celebrate. And at this time of global inflection, we are witness, and I really want to put a word of caution, we are witness to great efforts to roll back the gains as far as gender equality front is concerned. I want to particularly point to the situation of technological development and the manner in which technology is being deployed in a manner that is very intentioned to roll back the equal rights gains. So it is very important to be intentional, not just about the historical factors, not just the legacy issues, but also the new frontiers, the new spaces, and technology is one of those. In fact, it is my intention that our next Athena session will be looking at the impact of tech and how to deploy, how tech is being deployed, and how to manage it, how to interact with it in order to enhance the gains rather than to actually be an affront on the gains that we have. So it is important that really beyond the legacy issues, and when I talk legacy, I tell people, even if you look in the philanthropic world, in the development world, and if I was to express the development space in pictures, when you see the picture of poverty, what picture do you see? Huh? A woman. Unemployment, an educated person, migration, refugees. Yes. When you see those pictures, they will be women pictures, invariably. And so we have legacy issues. But what I'm saying is, as we deal with the legacy issues, we must look at the future. What is the future looking like? What is AI looking like, deployment looking like? When we are talking financial wellness, where are we in terms of women and interacting with bonds, for example? Where are we in the cryptocurrency space? So that we do not just become the late takers. It cannot be that women are always going to be the late takers. What does it take? What intentionality is required to be at the forefront of these developments that are defining what the future looks like? So for me, I think it is important to think at the entire spectrum. I say, and we have had this, women's empowerment is not just a human rights issue. It's not just a justice issue. It is good business. It is good corporate performance. It is good organization efficiency. It is good politics. It is good security. It is good law. And it is good justice. It is a healthy society. So this is not just about simple rights issues. It is about the totality of the type of society we must have. And I have to say that society is being challenged in its totality today. So we have to think, how are we going to shape, to curate the empowerment programs as has been discussed here by a number of speakers? From a national security perspective, you know that traditionally this has been seen as the last bastion of women exclusion. In fact, history, we actually obliterate the history of the contribution of women in security, isn't it? Oftentimes, when you look in the archives and when you discover any literature which is talking about the Amazons, you are told it is a myth. You're told that's a myth, you know. So traditionally, a lot of the way security was conceived, the way security was organized, the way security was deployed, it was seen in masculine terms. And women were to be protected, were to be victims, were to be, you know, nurtured and policed and so forth and so forth. But we know that today, and that is because insecurity was conceived in terms of borders, territorial borders, states fighting states, big armies and things like that, because that is the way threat was conceived. But today, even that conceptualization of threat has diminished, isn't it? It is transnational, it is soft, it is very, 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 very soft, and if you want to think about it, if you think about cybersecurity today, there cannot be something that is so soft and so insidious at the same time. You know, I keep telling people when I talk to them that you could be sat in your house downstairs and your child, who you think is safe and sound in the house, is being recruited from her cell phone or his cell phone upstairs in your house. This is how insidious it has gotten. So that means the way we develop the skill sets that are required to detect, to to deploy are not the conventional security as we have understood and organized it. So you need to be more nimble. You need softer skills to discover, for example, is a child being molested in the cyberspace? Do you have the sense of discovering this, of having this, of knowing this? I mean, now, today, with our children, stress has become a very fashionable word. Everybody is very stressed, you know. When we grew up, being stressed was not a fashion, isn't it? But today, you know, they even say they are having mental illness. You don't understand them, you know. Do we have the soft side that is going to help us feel the threat, the risks that are upon society, and that if we do not deal with, we are going to have a dysfunctional society, and by extension, unproductive, and by extension, insecure. So it is very important to figure out. The question of gender-based violence, we know this is not just about the person that is being inflicted. It weakens families, it scars generations. And now we are having a situation where the family unit is under serious affliction. Yes? I was just looking at the statistics in terms of women-headed households, in terms of the level of violence against the girl and the woman, and even the boy child today. So what do we do in terms of just looking at this space of relations, of safe space? You know, one of the most striking things during COVID was when by September 2020, it became apparent that more than 300,000 girl children had fallen pregnant in the home space, supposedly the secure space. These are the things that we have to look to. So who is looking out for those children today? What is the meaning of that in the next 10, 20 years? How are we intervening to restore that stolen childhood? What's going on here? And what is going to be the implication of this in terms of us as a nation? And that was in the beginning, in September, and that was part of the reason why we opened our schools quite early, because we figured out that the girls were safer at school than at home. These are the things that we are going to have to deal with. Economic exclusion drives despair, and in some contexts, it fuels radicalization, or so it seems. Climate insecurity. We all know that the vulnerability that is being visited on us in terms of climate change has a direct impact on the ability, not just of the women, but of their families, of societies, and of communities to survive. Conflict. We are back to questions of conflict, and we know that women are disproportionately victimized in situations of insecurity. So how do we make sure that public safety becomes a priority for all of us? We know even when demonstrations happen, the last demonstration, the next thing you had was what? Women were being, you know? So public safety becomes a public good that is a woman's public good. It is extremely important that safety, even as we express our rights, becomes very, very important. And therefore, the way we secure the women in those spaces as they express their rights becomes very, very important. Let's be clear. If women are not secure, communities will not be secure. And without secure communities, our nation cannot be secure, neither can it fulfill its aspiration as a democratic, prosperous nation. Luckily, we have a blueprint. We have a blueprint in the Women's Charter, which is for collective action. And this is why the Office of Harriet is so important, because it offers all of us a national framework for collective action, to expand the opportunities for women, to guarantee inclusion for women, to secure their rights and dignity, and to entrench accountability for all of us that are having the responsibility of power. And it is so important when you talk about inclusion that we are not stuck where the debate on women has been stuck for a very long time. We talk of women in terms of small and medium enterprises, small grants, and small. I think we must scale. We must think scale, because that is the only way to impact change. It is not by little things. So we must scale. We must think big. We must have big visions. And actually, the president has shown us how to have big visions. You cannot be bold on a little, minute thing. Yes? So I'm inviting us to be, if you're going to be bold, then we have to really be bold. You have to be bold from the vision. You have to be bold in the commitment. It is almost a leap of faith. It is almost a leap of faith. And that is what I invite us to do. So this charter, the Women's Charter, is not a government policy. It is a promise. It is a covenant with the women of Kenya and the society that is Kenya. It is a promise about what kind of a nation we are determined to become. And I believe all of us really must come here believing in this charter and carrying it, because it is what would provide us with this bold and inclusive vision. So I am very thrilled by the theme of today's meeting, Partnership for a Bold and Inclusive Future. You know, somebody told me a story about one of the people that had been incarcerated in Robben Island with Mandela. And as they sat there wondering whether they would die or not, you know, whether they would ever come out, he kept on saying, when I get out, I'll be a big business person and I'll have banks. And they'd look at him and say, you're really, really losing your mind. How are you going to get out of here? You have to have the power to imagine. We must imagine the society we want. And I can tell you that society cannot be without women at the center of it. And that is really the boldness all of us are inviting us to. So I hope this morning's discussion will not just end as another discussion. And to my fellow colleagues in government, to you in civil society, and I've been there before, to those of us in the private sector, I really want us all, as was called here to us, to really recommit again to this idea of intentionality. And it has been spoken in different forms here. Idea of intentionality, idea of scaling up to increase investment in women-led, whether it is peace building, what we are doing, whether it is climate resilience, whether it is business, whether it is farming and things like that. But also to uphold zero tolerance behavior to violence against women. You know, a friend of mine was talking and had a poem talking about holding the lesso. The lesso. In our mother's period, if there was a woman who had an emergency, the first thing they would do is to run and cover them. Today, what happens? There will be somebody with her, and then send it. I think it is very, very, very important to hold the lesso to each other. To hold the lesso to each other, because each one of us needs a lesso. Everybody needs a wrapper. Let us hold the wrapper for each other. Above all, it is important that we hold ourselves to account, not in words, but in measurable results. To the Office of the Women's Advisor, I commend your vision, Harriet, and progress, but your success will depend on our collective, all of us, on our collective action. Because the Women's Charter, to succeed, it must become the Kenyan Charter. It must become the Kenyan Charter, adopted and practiced by every Kenyan, because it is good for every Kenyan. We must never forget that insecurity thrives where inequality persists. Empowerment is not a luxury, it is the defense of our national aspirations. Kenya simply cannot afford to leave anyone behind, particularly women. And therefore, as I close, I want us to reflect on an old African proverb that is spoken every time. Every time you hear, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think it is important that we choose to go together so that we can move far and meaningfully. Let us choose to build a Kenya where every woman, every girl, and every child is protected, is valued, and is empowered, not just to survive, but to thrive. May this gathering light the path to a bold and inclusive future for our country. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much. God bless Kenya, and God bless us.
Please do not stop. Please do not stop. That's to continue.
Hey, superwoman, superwoman.
Yes, she has not taken her seat.
I'm a superwoman. I'm a superwoman.
Excellent.
Hey, superwoman, superwoman.
A day of super women. And we are here to celebrate you and the milestones and the great things you are doing in your spaces. Please have your seats. Thank you, Ambassador. So motherly. I sit here as a son, and you make me reflect back that as men, where we come from. No, sometimes we look at these things as work. And we forget that the things that you are helping us reflect on this morning come from our immediate households. And you are speaking of, you are in a house, seated there in the living room. Is being recruited. So we are not talking of things that are far-fetched, but are things that are within the communities, the households that we live in. And thank you so much for just helping us reflect on those things. And I believe collectively, even as we live here, a lot of conversations will be germinating from that. Very, very briefly, I will wish to welcome very notable guests to just also highlight, put a voice on the discussions and things that you've had here in the last 1 hour or so. Very quickly, Madam Margaret Muliwa, I will just wish you step. Celebrate her. Madam Margaret Muliwa is a celebrated board member, Women in Technology Africa, and Margaret Muliwa, Ford Foundation, sorry for that mix-up, Ford Foundation. Dr. Bella Namango, Women in Technology. I think because they're also sitting together, they're even now looking each other. Welcome. Naomi Ndele, Kenya Commercial Bank. Last but not least, our great friend, our mother, mentor, Naomi Wako. Karibu sana. And also take this opportunity to welcome my colleague, a very seasoned journalist and currently my colleague in office, Madam Sylvia, who is Secretary Gender in the Executive Office of the President, Office of the Women Rights Advisor. Welcome, and I hand it over to you. You have around 15 minutes of quick reflection, and you are taking us through that particular session. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Let's appreciate the panel, please. So we had requested for 45 minutes. We've been given 15, so we'll be very quick. The first thing we're going to do is something we do very well in communication, is I'm giving each of them a minute to give us their elevator pitch, where they tell us who they are and what they do, and it's exactly 1 minute each. The clock is ticking. We start with Mheshimiwa Naomi.
Honorable Canon Naomi Wako, County MP Marsabit. County MP Marsabit, Deputy Majority Whip National Assembly, a woman leader, and I'm glad to be here. I'm energized. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. You've given a good example. Naomi, namesake.
Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Naomi Ndele. I am head of SME banking and agribusiness at KCB Bank. I am privileged to help and build businesses and communities by supporting them to thrive through offering financial access to them. And just over and above that, I am also honored to lead the Women's Market Program at KCB Bank. It's my passion to lift women, and so I'm really privileged that I have this opportunity to offer economic empowerment to women, even as I do what I do every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Naomi.
Good morning. Bella Namango. I'm a very passionate advocate for women empowerment and strategic partnerships across Africa, and very grateful for the opportunity. I am an information security manager at the British Council, but I also sit on the board for Women in Technology and Innovation Africa, and I'm here to represent the CEO, Madam Eunice Polman, who is the pioneer of Women in Technology and Innovation Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Margaret Muliwa. I serve as the Regional Director of the Ford Foundation East African region. I'm very passionate about women and youth, and allow me to be vulnerable today. Since morning, I had to avoid crying because on Chegai, the issue on widowhood is real. And I just kept on reflecting. At 29, I had children and I was already a widow. And thinking about it, I think this is really honorable, even as you put a lot of emphasis on widows. They are lonely, lonely women and people in this society.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies, for keeping the time. Now we're just going to reflecting on the conversations that we've had all morning, but also reflecting on the spaces where we work. So, Honorable Naomi, you work in a male-dominated, difficult, can I call it industry? And we see you guys, we see how you as women struggle in there. We wanted to just know from you what lessons you have learned from your journey, and given the fact that we have leaders in this room, what more needs to be done to enhance inclusion in terms of gender mainstreaming?
Thank you very much. Number one, I want to congratulate all the women leaders who are here and for the far they have come, because I know it is not easy. We have struggled to be where we are, and so I want to congratulate every woman who is here, because it is by the grace of God that you are where you are and through your hard work. Number two, I want to confirm that it is not easy. And especially in politics, those of us who are in politics know very well that you have to struggle to be where you are, and you have to know that nobody thinks about a woman, even in that circle, politics. There is this position that we have been given, the 47 county MPs, what we normally call the women representatives. But given opportunity, can you imagine men would have still taken all those positions? In fact, they wonder why they are not representing women. So we thank God that 2010, the Constitution is very specific that the 47 women representatives must be there. But given opportunity, I'm sure somebody would have snatched my position. Then the other thing that we need to know is before you grow in your career, before you excel, before you become somebody, you are a darling to everyone. But just the moment you try to show your star, your ability, then you become, that woman. Even the way they refer to you, that woman.
Yeah.
That woman. And the unfortunate bit, we know very well that women are well educated, hardworking, I think compared to men, trustworthy. They are also very visionary, have the energy, the zeal, but once you succeed as a woman, they always put something else. She must have a boyfriend somewhere. She must have slept with somebody for her to be there. Am I right? That is our experience. But far from that, women are very hardworking. And sometimes when we are criticized, I wonder how this world would have been without a woman. Can you imagine this world without women? So what does it take for you to be where you are? Just as we have been told, you must be very bold. Very, very bold. And in our today's world, you are intimidated. Cyberbullying is there for everyone, but it is worse for women. Worse for women. You must be very, very bold and see how best you can overcome the challenges that come your way. We have the ability, and mine is just to say we can transform this country.
Thank you.
Given opportunity.
Thank you. Let's appreciate those words. I think you've echoed the words of Ambassador about being bold. I think that seems to be the rallying call for today. My dear Naomi, one of the things our office does is to really campaign against tokenism and to really push for a true inclusion agenda. So we wanted you just to share the experience of KCB in trying to ensure that women are not only included in leadership, but they are truly at the right leadership levels, not just tea girls and messengers, as most organizations do. When you look at where the women are really anchored in the organization, they are at the bottom. So we want to know about KCB's experience.
Thank you, Sylvia. And allow me to bring warm greetings from our MD, Kenya, Mrs. Anastasia Kintai. She would have loved to be here, but she has to attend to an urgent meeting. So it starts there. As KCB Bank, it's been a journey in terms of lifting women. And we have the first ever managing director who is female. And I think it is, thank you, it is truly fruit from work that has been done intentionally. So I know you've talked about tokenism and how do we move away from it. It really is not just about representation by quotas, it is about meaningful influence. And allow me to just give a little brief where we're coming from. And this is about a journey of about maybe almost 10 years. And when we look at the numbers in the bank, when at the entry level, the men and the women are 50-50. So when they're joining the bank, it is equal numbers. But as the numbers, as the young people grow into the roles and into in the bank, the men grow faster to higher roles than the women. And it was very specific at mid-level, where most of the women stagnate at the mid-level. So the bank has been intentional in trying to encourage the women to move from that space, and asked why they do that, why the men move faster from different surveys. Of course, that is the time for bearing children. They don't want to move away from their families. KCB is in, across the country, 47 counties. And a lot of the women would want to stay with their families in mostly the urban areas. So you'll find they will not put up their hand to move to a higher role in a different or far-fetched place. And so the men end up growing faster. But the bank has taken initiative intentionally to support the women through a Women in Leadership Network program, where the women are mentored by other leaders, both men and women. And also there's mentorship, there is coaching, there is a sponsorship. So it's not just about, can you do it? You need to actually hold a hand and walk the journey with the young woman or just the woman in the workplace to encourage them that they can do this. I can tell you, banking was made by men for men. Not just in the products, but even in the way the hierarchies are. So it is time that the bank is bringing intentional breaking down of those, should I say, stereotypes? Because women have the same capability. I mean, I can see such brilliant women here, and thank you, Ambassador Dr. Monica, for just those encouraging words. We have to be intentional. Influence intentionally from a very young age. We also support women through the KCB Foundation. So it's not just about the women in the workplace, but even the women, the growing ones, through the KCB scholarship. Again, to encourage the young girls who are not able to go through their education normally, because maybe they're culturally removed from the education system. We take it intentionally to walk this journey of education with the girls.
Thank you.
Just to give you one statistic, in the last 5 years, we've been able to grow the women in the KCB board from 0 to 33%.
Wow.
And also for the women in the EXCO, the executive committee, also to 36%. So it is intentional by using these programs that are generated to support women.
Thank you, thank you. Can we appreciate KCB for what they're doing? Bella, you know, when we think about women empowerment, one of the cogs that we keep on talking about, we really need to crack, is the issue of tech and the issue of STEM. We know that we can't move forward without cracking this cog. So I just wanted you to share with us what you think needs to be done to really accelerate this sector for women and girls.
Thank you very much. Number one, I think I have seen in my 15 plus years career what collaboration can do between government and private sectors. The British Council, for example, has really partnered with the government of Ministry of Education specifically to work with connecting schools and connecting teachers in the UK to learn from each other with the teachers in Kenya. Now, with Women in Technology and Innovation Africa, where I sit as a board member, we are very intentional with serving the underserved. And in this case, I think the speakers today were talking about vulnerable people. We are starting up a smart library in Gaimurunya Primary School. It's in Gataka informal settlement close to Karen. And what we discovered is that they also have a mixture of disabled children. And this is when we approached, and this is what partnership can do. We approached Honorable Harriet here, talking about what we do. We have also approached the office of the TVET, Ministry of Education. The PS, I was told, is around. I'm not sure if she's still around. To talk about sexual and reproductive health. To just put this into curriculum as a life skill. Because what is happening is you do not know. We have very young mothers who are dropping out of schools because they lack access to information. We need to have more people coming up, enabling our girls to have access to information, get empowered, because we can't accelerate women's rights without the access to the information they need. How do you know you are right? You only know you are right if you read about it. And I think in that particular strand, the Gen Zs have leaped ahead of us because they are bold, because they are informed. Sometimes they use that information wrongly. The other thing we can do is to make sure, and I think the office of Dr. Purity does that a lot. Thank you very much, Madam. I get a lot of updates about the statistics. And we need to work together about these statistics. What do? We need to monitor. How are we progressing? This is when collaboration and partnerships comes in. Lastly, and not least, is just the issue of making our girls more confident. This confidence gap is real. Thinking about STEM to be only a thing for girls. I remember, because you know also that we are held back because of our traditional roles in African society, caregiving and so on. I remember when I was doing my master's degree, I already had my son. And my mother-in-law was looking at me, kwani wewe? He was already 4 years old. Kwani wapi mtoto? Where is the second one? I want grandchildren because I'm married to her firstborn. So the pressure was real. And this pressure is there for girls. Most of them drop off because of that. They are pressured by the clock to have children, to get married. Like myself, I actually had to finish my thesis after delivering my daughter because my mother-in-law, don't get me wrong, she's a very nice lady, but she needed grandchildren. So there's a lot of pressure from all over for women to do their traditional roles at the same time to be able to provide for the family. Then we have also stereotype, and people have talked about stereotype here. I think when we talk about stereotype, we think when you are alone doing sciences. Wind up, please, yes. Yes, the last one. Doing sciences, you feel isolated. And therefore, you feel a little bit uncomfortable. And therefore, that works against the women. So we need a lot of encouragement, talking as partners to encourage girls from primary school to engage into STEM field. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate that contribution. Margaret Mlewa, thank you for sharing your personal story. And Pole Sana for being a young widow. At 29, that was very young. I just wanted you to share a little bit more on how Ford Foundation is actually aligning to the priorities that you've had. You've heard from our advisor about the priorities that we have as an office, and also you've heard from other people working in the sector what the priorities for the country are. We know that Ford Foundation has been supporting programs in the country for many, many years, but we wanted to know a little bit more about how the work you're doing is aligning with the work that we are doing.
So thank you very much. And indeed, Ford Foundation has been in Kenya since 1963 at the invitation of the then new government. And even listening to the work that you mentioned, or rather listening, one thing that is central is women empowerment within the Ford Foundation, because Ford Foundation's mission really is to reduce poverty and injustice. And when we think of poverty and injustice, it's women who are at the center of it.
We also work around strengthening democratic values, and then also international cooperation and advancing human development. Now, if you think about the work of Ford Foundation, right from the start of the 1980s, 70s, 90s, and 2000, we've been really central at the development of the microfinance banking, including the Kenya Women Finance Trust, when we think of the KREP agency and many other places that we've been. And we've also been really central at the moment building capacity of women, specifically in government, in economic empowerment of the women. And key now what we are doing is around mission investment and thinking about seed capital for women specifically who are doing businesses. And this really is to help boost their businesses. Remember, Dr. Ambassador mentioned about the small. We are thinking of how do we ensure these businesses are not just small, they grow to a certain level. And then secondly, in terms of economic empowerment, we are in a new era of jobs, and we are thinking about the future of work. What does the future of work look for women? Many of us know of the gig economy. What does that mean about, gig economy mean for women? And when we think even about the informal sector is run by women. What does that mean for women, specifically when it comes to their rights and ability to operate within those spaces? And then there was issue on leadership and governance that was mentioned. This is also another space we really think about. How do we ensure, or rather do we contribute to the decision-making of women in leadership? And one area that we've continued doing is to fund women-led, whether it's civil society, whether it's businesses, to fund those specific areas that are women-led. And in fact, one of the things that then we have been emphasizing on is centering gender in every space, every work that we do, that we support. And then maybe to talk about the legal and social justice, one of the things that we've also been doing is access to justice, and we work very closely with the judiciary around supporting work on access to justice. And mainly, we also think of the protection of women and the prevention of gender-based violence. And when we think about it, and many of us have alluded to it, we are seeing new forms of gender-based violence, online gender-based violence. So we have invested a lot on research to really start thinking, how do we engage, how do we change the narratives around women, and specifically when we think about the tech companies. And at global level, we are engaging the tech companies and really to address the issues around violence against online violence against women. And then finally, maybe just to talk about data and research. This is something, and technology. Sorry for that. This is something that we have also continued investing in, and we really believe that evidence-based research, working with institutions of higher learning, and really bridge theory and practice is something really critical.
Wow, and Ford Foundation doing interesting things. Can we appreciate them? Thank you so much. Yeah, but before I leave you, I just wanted to ask another question. And this question is, given the fact that as a philanthropic organization, you really recognize the importance of partnerships between private sector and public sector, what would be your clarion call to the leaders in the room here?
So one of the things that, just to give a bit of a history around Ford Foundation, it was founded by Henry Ford and his son Ansel Ford, who are the founders of the Ford Motor Company. And you can imagine this type of model we continuously encourage locally to use. And one of the things that we are doing is with the corporate and private sector is around East Africa Philanthropy Network, supporting East Africa Philanthropy Network, and bring many local ideas around building philanthropy like this one of Ford Foundation. And one example I can give, including the Kenya Community Development Foundation, is part of what Ford Foundation has seeded
to continue making sure that the work that Ford is doing at the global level is actually led by the citizens themselves and continue adopting some of those models that we use from the global. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bella, would you like also to make your clarion call to the leaders in the room?
Sure.
Given the fact that you're in that area of STEM and innovation, technology, given the fact that we're looking at empowering women, what clarion call would you make to the room today?
Thank you. The first one is we need some strategic funding and resource mobilization. And with this, we need to have some access to government grants for women. Government grants for women, both in the government and also in the public sector, where it's possible, because I know that the public sector is also represented. And with this, we can actually scale up these partnerships by having like innovation hubs. We can also target to scale mentorship of our young people, and also we can have collaboration in programming like co-hosting youth-led innovations, having STEM-led summits, like in Women in Technology and Innovation Africa, we have an annual STEM summit. We would like to call upon the people in this room to join us so that these young people can showcase. We have young people with a lot of brilliant ideas. We spoke to the Kiriri Women's University, the tech club, and we have girls who are coming up with applications that can really help us to address our societal issues like recycling and so on. We also need a lot of data and impact and monitoring. We need to collect a lot of data in collaboration with the government and the offices represented here so that we can be able to monitor how we are doing, especially when it comes to the menaces like early or teenage pregnancies. We need to know about that, FGM, what data is available, how have we addressed it from the last 2 years and so on. And we are available to help the government in this if we hold each other's hands. Yeah,
thank you very much. Go on, Naomi. But the question I wanted to ask you, Naomi, before even you answer the question about the clarion call to the room, is there are quite a number of banks represented here, and I know your struggles are more or less the same. What needs to be done to make women more bankable? And then you can make your clarion call to the room.
And this is to the host. You asked, why do we as banks not support women? I know I alluded to it a little bit. The history of banking was really to support men. But we are intentionally also doing it, not just for, like I said, about uplifting women employees. We are also intentionally working to uplift women entrepreneurs. And in 2022, we did unveil our Women's Market Program. We call it FLAME, FLME, which means Female-Led and Made Enterprises. We actually have designed the product to support women who and to the point about owning land and having collateral. That is the model that was built for banking. We're trying to shift that to enable people or women who are not able to raise the collateral or the requirements that have been the history of banking, to reduce all that and incorporate new ideas using data, using record keeping, using different ways of scoring to enable women access credit. So we are intentional in doing this using the FLAME program. We have a fund of 250 billion that was set to support women entrepreneurs. I am happy to confirm that we have disbursed 150 billion in the last 8 years. So it is work in progress. It is not something that will happen overnight, but we have started the journey. We have supported these women without collateral to the extent that they were small, very small businesses. They have grown to um, small and medium enterprises, and some have become corporate entities in this country. So it is a journey. We are on it, and the clarion call here is we cannot do it on our own. Women are a very unique segment of customers. They may not be as informed as men are. They need a lot of information. They need a lot of knowledge. They need a lot of capacity building. And this it's expensive because it will not bear fruit tomorrow. When you run a business, you want to see impact tomorrow. But with this kind of hand-holding, you need partners, like-minded people, the Ford Foundations, the DFIs, who can support in building capacity of the women through networking, through training, through workshops, through mentoring. And that's my clarion call today, that we come together. We cannot do this in isolation. We need each other. We need to partner and to get this agenda going forward and truly empower women through access to finance.
Thank you. Let's appreciate that clarion call. So, Mheshimiwa Naomi, your call to action is, if you had one call, because you're a politician, I have to say one, one call to the CEOs and the leaders in this room on what we need to do to accelerate the leadership agenda for women, what would that be?
Thank you very much. Number one, before I even get to the CEOs, we must all hold each other's hand. Many other times we pull each other down, but let us hold each other's hand and be your sister's keeper. Then we will be able to achieve all that we want to achieve. To the CEOs in this room, as I said, once again, congratulations for getting to where you are. Please make sure that you'll be deliberate enough to make sure that you have empowered another woman. Number two, let us have systematic, kind of plan as you serve in that organization. Make sure that the heads of department and you grow somebody to take over and push another person, another lady, to be a CEO somewhere else, as you also excel and grow. The other thing we need to do is exposure. What women lack is exposure. Thinking out of the box and just giving them the opportunity to know the potential they have. And that we can only do through the leadership that is in this room. The CEOs who are there. Make sure that, we expose women, and let us not only concentrate on those women in the city. Even in the villages, we have great women. Even in the old days, in my own culture, people know very well that even the village elders, unless their wives whisper some special words to them and wisdom, when they go to the meetings in the morning, they may not be able to do a lot. But they ask for wisdom from women. And women empower their men in the house and in the bedroom, and they leave. So when they go out, they look very bold, very intelligent, full of wisdom. But it is someone else who has really inspired them. So let us inspire each other before you expire, because time is quite short and you have that opportunity. Make sure that we give women enough exposure, we train them, we empower them, and also empowering women economically. Women are owned by their husbands. We all belong. You all belong to your husbands. I have a problem with the payment of dowry, by the way. Let me just bring this in. You pay a dowry. I have 3 daughters, and I look forward. And it is something that is in us. But sometimes I ask myself, what does this really mean? If you pay a dowry, it is like your daughter has been bought by somebody, meaning that that person owns her. She doesn't own anything. I think a time should come when girls will pay dowry.
I like that.
That time should come. I know it is African and we are all proud, but a time should come when, and it should not be called dowry or something. It is a token of appreciation. We just appreciate one another. So from that engagement, you become somebody's property. You are someone's property. You don't own anything. Your children, you are everything. You yourself, with all your knowledge and everything, you belong to someone. Well, it is okay, but you need that freedom. So what do we need? If a woman wants to grow and excel, she must be economically empowered. And those who can empower us are here. We can be empowered. Once a woman is economically empowered, I tell you the sky is just the beginning. We can be the next governors. We can be the next, even president. Can we be the next president? If we mean it, yes, we can. And especially in politics, money is all that you need and the connection for you to be who you want to be. So we need women to be empowered economically, but that transformative mind is what we all need to work on. And the CEOs come up with those programs. Honorable Harriet, you are doing very well. The Widows Empowerment Program we had in Marsabit, I being one of them, is something that people keep talking about. You are doing great. We have single mothers, we have widows, we have women who have all the potential, but someone must open their minds and show them the potential they have. That, together with economic empowerment, I tell you, we don't even need to struggle for the 2/3. It will come automatically. So mentorship, training, and just making sure that we have all the facilities, all the policies in place, all the legal frameworks that we need so that a woman can be that leader that she wants to be.
Thank you. Let's appreciate those inputs, and thank you so much. I like the point about dowry. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry. In the interest of time, I may not be able to open up for an interaction, but these ladies are around. You can catch up with whoever you have a point to make to. I know you have a few points to make. I just want to remind you of something that Dr. Ambassador said. She said that we are witness to plenty of efforts to roll back the gains that we have made. We are witness. There are so many efforts to roll back the gains that we have made. So in the spirit of what everybody has said here, we need to work together so that we can truly have an empowered woman in this country. Thank you so much for listening to the panel. Please clap for them. I think they've done a great job. Thank you so much for your inputs, for your ideas, for your insights. So I'm hoping that next time we'll have more time to interact with the audience. But today we were a bit short on time. But thank you so much all the same.
Excuse me, for an opportunity, they said, and if I'm a good student, wherever there's an opportunity to shine, please, if it's your day, please grab it. The panelists. Thank you very much. A round of applause to that team again. They have done a wonderful job, and so much work, Madam Ambassador, so much work has gone into this. Even putting together the panel, a lot of discussions, and I just want to thank behind tent people like Madam Pamela Nyakoa from Safaricom, always on phone and mobilizing us, even in these questions, and just ensuring we have the right things. You don't come to the front, but we are grateful. Madam Elizabeth Mdogo, also the back and forth. Where are you? Yes, celebrate her. You might see the work on stage, but behind that work, there are people there. Madam Mumbi Kahindo from ABSA also. We celebrate you because a lot of work and the back and forth in assisting us even put this together is greatly appreciated. Now, before I welcome Honorable Harriet Chigai just to give our closing reflections, I wish to very much thank KDIC. We are here courtesy of their support by large, and we don't want to let that go unrecognized. Kenya Commercial Bank, you've stood with us in the preparation for this particular event, and we remain most grateful. We knocked many doors, but a few came back, and we want to say thank you. Equity Bank also, we knocked your doors, and you were kind enough to open and listen to us. Women in Health and Technology, the good work you are seeing, the lighting you are seeing, you made all that one possible. And for even the CEOs who are in the room, we still seek greater extents in terms of partnerships, and we wish you to join the list of those institutions that already are working with us. But even if you're working with us, we still are asking you that when we knock, please open for us your door. NGAF, KDIC, Kenya Commercial Bank, Commodities Fund, MSEA, Psychologists Board, Unclaimed Financial Assets, Tourism Fund, Tourism Promotion Fund, the Dairy Board, the National Syndemic Disease Control Council, Hope Alive and Echoes of Mercy, just among the few partners who we are already working with, Equity Bank, Women in Health and Technology, among others. So we want all of us, this list to be enriched so that when we're having these conversations, they by and large can be able to have your presence in it. I take this opportunity to welcome Honorable Chigai to give her closing reflections, because behind tent, it is us you've been speaking to. It is us who are putting, all this together, and looking at all the words, the encouragement that you've given us. How do we put this into action plan that when we meet next, we can celebrate the milestones? Welcome, Waziri.
Thank you very much, Akoto. A good clap for Akoto. You've all said everything that I would have wished to say. The only missing link was how much money are you giving my women? So let us have the QR code for all of you to scan it. Or before the QR code, I talk about this. Okay. Can we have the other photo? If I was to ask who is the widow in this photo, can anyone point? Can you? The first lady here is actually the widow, and all those are her children. And that is their one-roomed house where they sleep, where they cook with firewood. And as you can see, she doesn't look like she's mentally stable. It's because of stress. It's just because of stress. The story of this woman is very sad. The person who killed the husband is the brother to her husband, to her late husband. They have refused her to even live in that family. Where she's living, it's just a small house next to the mother-in-law's house, because that is where she feels safe. When we landed in this village, we were in shock. In fact, we thought we were just going to support one family, and we discovered this is a big problem and it must be dealt with. So, ladies and gentlemen, we must go back to our rural homes. The government cannot do this alone. Just adopt a widow. One. Just one. The next slide. So I've decided to show you this because you've talked about widows. It was not part of my presentation today. So the little we could do on this day, we had to buy materials, and we went ahead using the local community to build for our home. Just go back to that other photo. No, this one. This is also a house for another widow. This one. Same story. Her husband died. Some neighbors killed her only son because he was the heir. And as you can see, where they have put for her this house is at the border. The next neighbor there wanted to take her little portion of land because she has nothing for herself. So you kick her out, take her space, take the whole land, kill her only heir, and take everything that she has. That is the story of a widow in this country. That is the story of a widow in this country. These houses the office built, not because we got any money from anywhere, but we removed finances from ourselves. And that is why my rallying call today is, as financial institutions, as our partners, if there's any CSR we should put in our institutions, think about a woman and a child. Those kids, and all these men, we didn't pay them, by the way. They came and did the work as contribution. And all of us, you can actually adopt a widow. And you can see the children. If a woman is not okay, look at the children. So it is a society that keeps running and running and running. So while we are thinking profit margins, banks, if all these people are not bankable, you're still not making enough money. Government agencies, your CSR activity, please put this money in the right space. We left here, we gave that widow, I think, some chicks and fruit trees to plant. But in one of the homesteads, this is another homestead. In one of the homestead, we were told, if you people leave without securing the home, they leave and steal those chicks. Can you imagine? They'll steal them from her. So mine, I think you can close that. So mine is just to ask you that within your CSR pockets, just adopt a widow. Just adopt a widow or an orphan. And I think for me, that is where you feel you have put your money in the right place. And that is why for us, when we went around and and most of you will ask us, how do we identify these widows? These ones we were just called. We were told there's a dire situation here by the chiefs of this place. And they asked us, can you come and assist? So all we went to do there was assist. And by virtue that professionals can go back home, you realize that also the surrounding area now secure that homestead. So we actually need to be very deliberate. So I'm told we have Chair of Bomas, Chebaibai. I can't see you. Aha, karibu sana. Chebaibai means the happy one. She's a very happy lady. So to our distinguished guests, as I said, you are all very special and very dear to all of us. Ambassador Monica Juma, you've challenged me. You and I, we shall ensure that this gathering becomes a signature event. And I love the suggestion that we must have the event as a curtain raiser for Katiba Day. So we are going to do that because that is what you have sent us to do. I told you by the time we are done today, there'll be an advisory going, isn't it? That's how we do it. We just don't sit and write advisories. You help us shape the national policy. So allow me to then say, this morning we have been enriched. Even I feel that I have taken knowledge, Kabale. You know, this Kabale is my friend, but when we meet, we don't talk about land issues. We talk about Marsabit, the issues of Marsabit. My good friend and mentor, Naomi Wako here, when we meet, she talks about her women, you know. But today I've listened to Naomi and I've learned one or two things from a governance perspective and from a leadership perspective. And that is why we are here today. CEO Ngek, today I have told you, you must actually have all the contacts of everyone seated here, including Judge Helen, because we really need her. And remember, she has said the association, the International Association of Women Judges, must plug into our work. And for me, I can't work without you. I can't work without judges. I can't work without the Ministry of Gender. I think the representation was here, but they've just left. I can't work with all the CEOs in this country because they are the implementers. We've just heard about KDIC, what Nancy is doing with coffee, and she has very interesting ideas. In fact, Nancy, I feel like we've not had the full you, because when I sit with Nancy, you just live with new ideas every day. And that is what the government is doing, because if we don't come here and tell people what we are doing, we will not know, isn't it? So there's a lot that the government is doing, but we all need to be part of that conversation so that you can also help. For instance, banks now, you know, if you must accelerate women in agriculture, look for the value chains, the government value chains. And then we report on those margins. And then the numbers that we are looking for, we will have them. You know, it's easier that way, other than government is pulling on a different trajectory. Civil society is pulling from another trajectory. Philanthropists don't even know what we are doing. So Margaret, thank you very much for being here today. You are actually our change agent. I would also wish to say that we have drafted a widow's manual with KSG. The CEO was here. That's the dummy. Anyone who wants to accelerate the widow's agenda in whatever sphere, please reach out. You get the manual. It's a trainers of trainers manual. And our next plan is to roll it out, because we discovered knowledge is what is missing. Knowledge. If all these women had the knowledge on how to go about these things, how to get into a business, how to build cottage industries, how to invest, where to get the money, how to bank, you know, how to take loans and pay them. Though banks tell me women are the best loan of takers, and they pay. You know, I keep joking and saying, when the men go for a bank loan and they use their house as collateral, according to them, they sold their house. They sold it. But for a woman, we need our house back. You know, so for the men, if there's a problem with the house, they'll put it on the market. For me as a woman, I'll say, no, I must find this money. But we were wired differently. So the widow's manual, we want to disseminate it using all the agencies, all partners, be it church, be it the judiciary. Everyone has a component to play in it. So please get a copy for yourself. I think we have many, but when you get the copy, make use of it. We need to train as many people to be ambassadors of change, and we need everyone on board. So the CEO of KSG, I wanted to thank him very much, but his dedication is as good as he had to come here first before he goes for his board meeting. So that is good dedication and sacrifice on his part. So we've heard from financial institutions willing to extend their hands and those already supporting women-led businesses, from philanthropists and development partners ready to invest in bold ideas. The judiciary, the holder of justice, and a partner to ensure equality, equity, from private sector champions opening doors long closed, and from partners reminding us of the urgency of justice. What has emerged in this room is not just a dialogue, it's a covenant of shared responsibility. Are we in agreement? Let us live here with the conviction that our task is bigger than policy papers. I think we need the QR code for us to scan it. It is about real people. It's about the widow, or a woman who dares to dream, again because of her dignity, is restored. It's about the young girl who walks to school without fear about her community. It's about a woman entrepreneur who steps into a bank and is seen not as a risk, but as the future. We must not mistake today for the destination. Today is the beginning. For the measure of this gathering will not be in the eloquence of our words, but in the evidence of our deeds. We must weigh our actions. It will be in the budgets that tell the truth about our priorities. in governance that reflects equality and equity, in data that no longer hides women but highlights their power, and in leadership that is as inclusive as our Constitution demands. Let us be clear, equality is not an act of charity, it is justice. Leadership is for women. It is not a token, it is a necessity. Safety for women and our children is not negotiable. It is the cornerstone of any society that dares to call itself free. When women rise, Kenya does not just rise, it soars. When women lead, democracy is not just defended. When equity becomes reality, our economy is not just stronger, it is unstoppable. Ambassador Monica Juma, we shall ensure this gathering becomes a discussion every other year. So let us go forth with boldness, with the urgency, and with the unity that has showcased itself today. Let us make sure that what has been spoken today will echo in villages, in markets, in schools, in parliament, and in boardrooms across Kenya. And all I ask is that you be our change agent. On our normal day, I don't like walking with a begging bowl. But this office has taught me that I must for the vulnerable woman and child. We must secure our women and children. We must be deliberate. We must work with real-time data. We must be disruptive. If we must make a difference, let us align our investment to women and children. There's a lot we can do in that space. There's health, there's education. If you have a workforce of women who are not healthy, then there's no business that we are doing. Let us ensure that no dream is deferred and no potential is wasted. That in Kenya and within our reach. And together we must build the Kenya we want by supporting our communities. Allow me to ask the barcode to be put up for all the partners who are willing to join us. You can just scan the barcode, put your name, we'll reach out. And on this begging bowl idea, I think this time round, I am happy to announce that most of you have actually reached out and said you want to help, rather than it's the other way around. So for me, thank you very much. And just to close, I think we can have Ambassador Monica Juma on stage to receive your token of appreciation. For accepting. You know, Ambassador was in a meeting at 7 a.m. We also have so let us celebrate her. We are giving you a symbol of a mother and child. And a baton on safe homes, safe spaces. We can have Judge Helen. You should come and hand over this one.
Duro, oi, 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 la mano arriba,
one is Samson Some Nelly from NCBA Bank. Where is Nelly? Nelly stepped out. So KCB Bank, you're the one to honor Some with this one. Some has been a champion for women initiatives, and we've owned him in our office, and he's my landlord, so I must be very careful. The next one is Nancy Cheriot.